Hi, welcome back to Beyond the Monsters. We have part 2 of Kyleigh's story today.
Tell me, is there room for me to cry? Is the devil all inside my mind? I don't wanna die like this, I wanna live my life.
This is the hard part of, I went back in the house after him, after I kind of got myself composed. I have no idea where my dog is. And I'm like, that's the next thing I think of is like, we have to find the dog. Because again, that's like my pride and joy. And like, that's the next thing I think of is like, I remember you start running through stuff in your head and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? And you're like in shock. And I'm just like, did he run away? Like, we're out here by this lake.
Right.
Like, so I go to like kind of run back in the house and I open the door and he's inside.
The dog?
Yeah. And I'm like, so remember I said I thought the people were all like dispersed around the house, but I'm like, unless my husband, when he ran out to open my car door, unless he left the door open, which could, make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how the dog got back in the house aside from that, or if someone opened the door. And so I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, my lip was bleeding. I was starting to get like swelling around my eye. I had a scratch down my neck. I didn't notice that at all on the beginning, but I'm walking in and they're like, oh, what just happened? And like, now they're out again because he went back in the house and the dog's in there and they're like, oh my, what is going on? And at this point, the other friend is coming upstairs and I'm like, get away from me. Like, you caused this. And now I'm afraid to leave again. Now I don't know where to go. Because I'm like, if I try to leave again, is he going to do that again?
You're like trapped. Yeah.
Yeah. So the friends that own the house, now they're trying to figure out what happened. But they're still drunk. So like, they're like, what? He assaulted you? What do you mean? Like, no way. Like, nuh-uh. And he's still screaming, I can't be with this woman for the next 5 years. I will not survive that. Like, saying the most god-awful things. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, they were having sex. They were hooking up. They were whatever. And then I'm just trying to leave to get myself out of the situation. Now I'm explaining myself and I'm over-explaining. I'm going on and on. Right. And eventually, an hour or so later, it's like 3:45 in the morning, somewhere in there, he goes outside to smoke a cigarette that he was done smoking, remember? Because they had cigarettes with them. Mm-hmm. And
then, he's just being an asshole.
Yeah, he walks out to the garage right by where the car was. And I follow him out there and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going back in there to sleep with her downstairs. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, go home. And I said, well, I tried that. Like, I tried to go home. And you wouldn't let me go. And he's like, because you're not taking my dog. You can go home, but you're not taking Luca. And I'm like, if you get to stay here with, because like now I'm trying to negotiate. If you get to stay here with her and them, why can't I take the dog so that I have someone with me?
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever, take the dog. Just get out of here. And so this time I apprehensively load him back up, drive all the way through the backwoods of Fort Leonard Wood and down the Lake of the Ozarks. And I get home and I'm traumatized. I'm absolutely in shock. I'm shaking. I'm, full-blown panic attack. I'm trying to call and, I called my friend and like, I didn't say what happened. I just was like, something bad happened. We got in a bad fight, like minimizing and like trying not to tell all the details, but like saying I needed help, with my mental health in this moment. And so this is like 5 a.m, but like as 6:30, 7 o'clock approaches, the friend that had slept with my husband calls me and I'm like, what? Like, what could you want? She's like, do you know where my debit card is?
You dumb bitch.
And I go, no, I don't. And you probably left it at the bar and that's what I told you to do. And you're going to have to call and order a new one. She's like, I think he sexually assaulted me last night. And I said, why? And she said, I woke up and he was in my bed. And I'm going, you are not that ignorant when you drink. Like, you have been a heavy drinker for a very long time. And if you remember that you lost your debit card at 5 in the morning and that you thought I had it and all that, like, how did you miss the rest of the details, you know?
Right.
I'm rationalizing in my brain, like, there's no way. And I'm like, where is he? What's he doing? She's like, he's still passed out downstairs and there's no one else up. So I came up to the couch because I'm freaked out. And I'm like, why did you do this to me? She's like, I didn't do this to you. He did this to me. Like, no accountability of like, and of course I'm like, I don't know if it transpired that way or not, but I do know you were taking your clothes off and you were grinding and you were saying really, really explicit things to people. And that's not me trying to blame you, but
Right.
from what I saw, I don't believe what you're telling me, at least from my observation. And, you know, as a couple more hours pass, when we hang up the phone, I'm like, I'm not listening to this. Like, I don't have your debit card. I want to know where he's at and why he's not coming home. And she's like, oh, I don't think he's coming home. And I'm like, what do you mean? He lives with me. Like, his stuff's here. He's in the army here. That makes no sense. Well, a few hours pass and I've been blowing up everybody's phone because I'm panicking. Like, why is no one reaching? Why did no one ask if I made it home? Why is no one asking where I am? Why does nobody care what I just went through or what they just did to me? And nobody is acknowledging my presence or my request or my need for information.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing, the friend, she goes outside and she's like, hello? And I'm like, yeah, I've been calling you guys. She's like, oh, sorry. We're in the living room trying to establish what happened last night. And I said, you are? And she's like, yeah. The friend that owns the house. She's making coffee and breakfast burritos. And I'm like, you're making breakfast burritos and having coffee and figuring out what happened last night without the main source subject of the night. And I'm like, this is the moment where like betrayal is like fully setting into my brain. Like, there's no way that you're telling me that right now. Like, I cannot capacitate how that kind of stuff could happen in somebody's house I introduce all of them to each other minus the husband and wife. Like, none of you know each other without me involved. So I'm just like, why have y'all, the married couple, not asked them to leave? Why have y'all at least not asked my husband to go home?
Right.
Why have y'all not helped her get to the airport to get a flight back home or whatever? You know, she already had a flight back 2 days later. Like, this trip was cut short, clearly. But when she's on the phone, somebody opens the door and I hear my husband say, well, I'd take her back, but Kyleigh would probably kill her at the front door. And they start to laugh in the background. And I'm going, is something funny about like, am I dreaming? Like, and my ex-husband's like, I'm not coming back there until I'm ready to come back. And I'm like, well, who's taking her to the airport? Oh, well, she's just going to stay here because I know you aren't going to let her come back to my house. And the whole time after this phone call, she's texting me, can you just deal with your husband when I leave and just come get me and we finish the trip? No, I will not. Like, I was like, this friendship is over. So I call her child's father back in Iowa and I tell him everything from my perspective of what just happened. This is what unfolded. This is what you need to know. I'm not going to let her manipulate you and lie about what happened. And then now I'm getting text messages of, that wasn't your place. You had no right to do that. You had no right to, call him, and I should have been able to tell him that story. And I was going to wait to see him in person.
You're like, yeah, well, I sure saw you in person last night.
Yeah. And I'm like, you dug your own grave here, and I want nothing to do with you. You will not step back in my car. You will not get to my house. You better figure out a way back to Iowa because I don't care what happens to you.
Right.
And the next thing I know, she's like, all right, well, then I'm staying here for the next 2.5 days. But they're mad that they have to take me to the St. Louis airport from Lake of the Ozarks, like 2.5 hour drive. And they're saying, like, it's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility either to get her back to the airport at this point. She's a grown adult.
Right.
Get your own Uber.
Right.
Rent a car. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Figure it out.
I'm not doing you a favor at this stage. I have to back up for a second. Before it's determined that they're going to take her back to St. Louis to the airport and she's staying there, something that I forgot about was I took photos at home of my injuries. And I had 4 to 6 photos of the busted lip inside, kind of the big, like, kind of bruised looking lip flipped out, like forming a black eye kind of on the outside of my right eye, the scratches on my neck, I had like scratch on my hand, just various things like that. And I took all those photos and I sent it because I'm bewildered that they're having breakfast and nobody's still checking in on me. So I sent the friend that owned the house and the friend that slept with my husband, and I was like, do you guys remember this last night? Not that they witnessed it, but that I came inside like, oh my God, this is what he did. Because my face was all, kind of scuffed up and everything. So I sent that and I get no response. And the next thing that happens is my ex-husband calls me and he says, what are you doing with those? And I said, doing with what? And he says, photos. And I said, well, I was just trying to like show these guys that this happened last night and that you need to come home. And, and he says, if you do not delete those photos when I get back, I will ruin you. Like, I will tell them you hit me with your car and that I attacked you in self-defense. He says that in their kitchen in front of all 3 of them. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the Army too. And he goes, are you planning to go to the police? And I said, no. And he's like, are you going to tell my commander? No, I won't. He's like, because if you ruin my career, I will ruin yours. And I'm like, and at the time I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to prove that this is how it happened? Like you're freaking out. And it's like, so then he's like, I'll come home when I'm ready, whatever. And then, like I said, they determine she's not coming back with him and she's staying with them and they're going to go to the airport and they're all upset about it, whatever. So he comes home. So the attack happened on Sunday at like 2 a.m. Then I got home at like where I was leaving around 3:45, got home, and then like 5 a.m. the phone call started. And by like, I don't know, 4 p.m., he doesn't tell me he's coming home, but he opens the door. So I'm home and he just opens the door, walks right past me in the living room, goes straight upstairs and lays in the bed. Does not say a word to me. What do? Because I already know he's hungover. I already know how the clock ticks with him. I make like chicken noodle soup and go get, I don't know if I made like a liquid IV or like had a Pedialyte in the fridge. I gave him some form of like electrolyte drink. Yeah. And I take Tylenol upstairs and I was like, are you mad at me? And he's like, I'm not talking about this. You're going to leave me alone. I'm going to sit here and watch my TV show. I'm not doing this.
Ew, just like talking to you like a child.
Oh, yeah. And I'm still like, this has to be my fault. And so I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what I did to you. Like, I must have caused it. I must have made you mad to make you do that to me. Like, all this stuff. And then I'm like, like I said, kind of doing the people pleasing thing and the over trying thing. Basically, so what I call it with my therapist is I wasn't love bombing. I was love begging. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm love begging him and I'm doing every little thing I can to like try to get on a better term with him. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember exactly, a day or 2 passes and now I'm in like full blown, like cry it out, like breakdown mode, completely confused. And at one point he comes upstairs and he kind of like crawls in the bed and like wraps me up. And he's like, what can I do for you? And I go, I think the first thing you can do for me is explain to me why you assaulted me. And he pauses and he goes, what assault are you talking about? I'm like, so he's kind of like acting like positive, like, okay, I'll help you out. Like, what's the deal? And I said, what do you mean, what assault? Like, you, and I'm like pointing, like, you did this, and I don't know how to process this. And I never thought I'd find myself in another abusive relationship or being assaulted by someone. Like, I outgrew that in my early 20s and my, like my childhood stuff. And I said, and you slept with my friend. Like you both betrayed me. And he's like, because I kissed her on the mouth. Like, so yeah, immediately shrinks everything down to like nothing
But
happened.
he remembers that he kissed her on the mouth, but okay.
But playing the like lost memory thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, kind of like from that stage on.
Does he have like a condescending tone too?
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
Yep. Kind of condescending, and also in the sense it was almost like surprise. Like, what are you saying about me? Like, what do you mean? Assault?
Mhm.
What assault? Like,
To make you think you're freaking crazy.
yes. And now I'm like,
And it does make you think that.
yeah. Like I said, and I was already kind of like in my brain, like, did I?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I made you mad. I don't know what I did to cause it. And then even like I said, backtracking to the walking inside and saying, if my mother hurt me, I'd kill her too. I'm saying, well, did I hurt him?
Mhm.
And I'm racking my brain. I'm like, well, the door shut on his legs, but that wasn't really like I didn't do that on purpose. It was on
Right.
accident. And then turns out he actually did take photos of his shins. He kind of had like blood blisters, almost where like the blood comes to the surface, and they were in a straight line. And he's going, that's where I'm going to tell them. That's how I'm going to prove that you hit me with a car if you take this anywhere. And so moving forward from that, months and months, kind of going past that. These friends fade out of my life, obviously very quick, obviously like almost immediately. They fade out of my life, and I begin to sink right back down the suicidal rabbit hole. And I start to gain some weight. Like I said, what we talked about earlier is he was trying to get me to feel insecure in the very beginning, where I was like, I wasn't gaining weight in the beginning, and then the treadmill thing, and then all the other kind of comments, and the intimacy's fizzling out, and then he cheats on me with her, and this assault, and then for months and months and months, no intimacy, no like intimate touch, no cuddling, no like really very bare minimum of any of those things.
And he probably never said sorry
No.
or gave you a hug.
No
or-
remorse, no acknowledgement of it happening. Absolutely. Like if I even brought up the situation, it was like immediately shut down. We're not talking about this. You got to take your own accountability and what happened. Like you were part of the problem, like all that kind of stuff. And as I kind of like, nobody knows that I'm sinking back down this like horrendous, like suicidal rabbit hole and things like that. But like there were signs of like laying in bed and crying a lot, and like no motivation to go to the gym, no motivation to meal prep, no motivation. And there's a lot of people I know that are like, usually if husbands or spouses in general, or people are really hard on you about your weight, it'll like motivate you to go get it done and,
Right.
and whip it up and look better and be like, see, I proved it to all y'all.
Yeah.
Not for me. It was the opposite effect. It was like defeat. It was like immoralization. It was like not treating me like a human and making me want to hate myself. And
Probably making you feel like he was
Super
acting like you're pathetic and
super
you're just
insecure.
yes.
Like I was like, you're right. I do have fat on my stomach. I do have kind of chubby arm. I do have like cellulite on my legs, and my, my face kind of got rounder. And, but again, even at this point, I haven't maybe 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Like I hadn't gained a ton of weight at this stage.
Yeah.
A ton, eventually it does kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, I gotta, otherwise the army is going to get on me. But like, again, these are more of the initial things. And this is when he's like putting the headphones on and laying around for 16 hours playing video games back to back. I'd walk by or sit next to, no, hi, how you doing? Or what are we doing for dinner? Like nothing, just completely and blatantly ignoring me, or being like, you need to wait till my game's over to talk to me type stuff. And always irritable about me interrupting him on his game. And I grew to really, really hate social games, or like kind of like the ones where they talk back and forth and stuff. And we ended up going on a trip to his parents' house to California, who he didn't really have like a super, super close relationship with at the time. There was more incidents. We went to a Vallejo, California Six Flags with his parents and his best friend. This best friend of his is going to become very important as well. His mother and father and his best friend went to Vallejo Six Flags with us. And I'm up there buying the fast pass. Here I go, people pleasing, buying the $200 fast pass for everybody in the group so we can all have the greatest day ever. And I look over and he's deleting like a second set of text messages out of his phone, like right in front of my face at this counter. And I look over and I'm like, what was that? And he's like, nothing. And I was like, no, it was. I saw the name Natalie. I'm like, I saw the name. And I even saw that the name was spelled like Natathie. Like there's an H in the name. I recognize like this is different. And again, remember I said I hyper focus on details. And again, here he is like, nothing. No, you didn't. No, you didn't see that. And I'm just like, but I swear I did.
Like, what's wrong with you?
And it's
crazy?
Like the second one down from my name. So I'm like, you were just talking to her, because otherwise she'd be like way down in the text messages. And I get kind of like moody. I'm like, you know, oh my, like, kind of like this feels awful again.
Right.
So I, you know, at one point I go to the bathroom, I come out and his mom's got her back to me and she's like, I'm not going to stand here all day and listen to someone act like a child. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like they are mad at me for being mad at him for being mischievous and
does she know what just happened?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. Or I think eventually it comes out because his dad comes up to me and he's like, she means nothing to him. You need to stop worrying about it. Like you're the one that he's with and this and that. And I'm like, no, it does matter. It doesn't matter if like, why have I never heard that name before? If it doesn't matter, you'd be like, oh yeah, my friend this or my coworker that.
Right.
Or
he wouldn't be erasing it or
Right.
deleting it. Yeah.
For me to glance over and see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a panic thing that people do. And so, yeah, so that whole trip kind of blew up. Like I said, kind of at this point, I am like reaching a point of like gaining weight, feeling insecure, and maybe like low mood and things like that. But there's zero, like quite frankly, nothing. No kisses, no hugs, no sex, no nothing intimate going on in this. Not even like
well,
flirtation.
He's barely even acknowledging you.
Yes. And like at that, I'm like, oh my God, is he cheating? Oh my God, is it, you know, I start festering and like worrying and I'm like, oh, it's my fault. But that's when the like mental abuse about body self-esteem, it was like, I don't like touching you. This isn't my fault, or I'm tired, or I'm exhausted, or your mood is shitty. And like, you know, I really like just kept sinking down and sinking down and sinking down. And it was just awful and hard to come back from. And, you know, I didn't want to leave. It was still like, why aren't you coming home? And why, like verbal outbursts and extreme aggression and calling me Nate. And I never reacted like that, which is actually strange for a lot of people because I am so outspoken and I am typically more abrasive in social settings and things. But when it's behind the closed doors of your own home and someone's outdoing you in those areas
Mm-hmm.
in various ways or switching up from what they do appear to be in public,
Right.
you're like, you almost like completely
different
invert.
when you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he just watched me kind of like sink off the ledge and like, you know, that whole rest of the year was hard. And I just was like, yeah, I mean, 6-7 months passed, no intimacy. And, you know.
Did you feel like you were stuck at this point or
No.
you just felt, I love him and I'm going to make it work?
Beg.
Yep.
Please don't leave. Please don't insinuate that you're leaving.
Don't
like,
you see me? I'm
yeah,
right.
please. Yeah. Crying. Like, I've had people abandon me my whole life. Please don't be another one that lies in my face about how you love me and that kind of stuff. But I was always begging for less anger. Please less anger. Please less yelling. Please less mean, condescending, insensitive tone towards me, putting me down. And like, I begged and begged and begged. And then the sad part was I started begging for intimacy. Rejection, 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 over and over and over and over. Anyway, through the phone, through text messages, being flirty on Snapchat, like in the room, like trying to, initiate something, or always rolling over, turning away, not responding to the text, being like, not tonight, I'm too tired, I haven't showered today. Like every little excuse until I don't like the way you feel. I don't like the way I feel when I touch you. You make me feel like I can't stay, attracted and turned on. And he's like, I touch your love handles on the side and it makes me feel like disgusted. I'm telling you. So it flipped from like excuse to like, this is your fault because you have let yourself go type thing.
Right.
And it was mortifying. And then it was like me trying to accept that, like, yeah, he's not attracted to me anymore because I look awful.
And you're probably getting deeper in that black hole with depression and suicidal thoughts. Oh, yep.
And we get to like January 22 and our birthdays pass, and like I kind of like invested in season tickets for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm from that area. I'm a huge Chiefs fan. And he claimed to be also. I'm definitely more into football and know a lot more than he did. But like he would go to games and things like that. Well, we're at the AFC Championship at the end of January 22, and we're playing the Bengals, and we ended up losing that game, and they went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. But we're up in the stands, and he like, again, I want to be careful how I like present this because I never like went forward with it. But as I started telling my story, I'm like, he sexually assaulted me in those stands. Like, we're in the stands, and if you've ever been in a stadium, like the people right behind you are like right at your back level, like their faces.
Right.
If you're standing up and they're sitting down, they're like staring right at the mid back. And he kind of like reaches up and like fondles on me, and I like go to swat his hand away, and I'm like, hey, stop, like don't. And he's like, I can do whatever I want. You're my wife. And I'm like, okay, sure, but like, we're in the stands. I'm like, there's 80,000 people in this stadium and cameras everywhere. Like, like I would really prefer you don't do that in public, please. But what was weird, the weird mental message was like, you didn't want to touch me all this time. Now you're drunk in the stadium and now you think you can just like forcefully touch me.
Right.
It's like sending me backwards messages. Yeah. So we get in the car. He's kind of like quietly like berating me all the way back through the parking lot to the car where we're parked. We were supposed to stay in Kansas City with our friends that night. He was belligerently drunk. We are not staying with them. You're humiliating me. I don't want to be around a wife who doesn't want me to touch her. Blah, like, so here's the verbal berating starting. He gets back. He won't let me go inside to retrieve our stuff because I'm crying. And I'm really upset. We drove my car, so I'm in the driver's seat. And he comes back out, puts our bags in the back, kind of trippy, stumbly. And it's a 4-hour drive back to Fort Leonard Wood in the area we lived. And I mean, 2.5 hours of this trip, I effing hate you. I'm not in love with you. You disgust me. You make me go soft. You like angry, like yelling, like this far away from my ear while I'm driving and crying and like,
Are you just crying? Are you lashing back out at him at all?
It was more of like the emotional display of like, please, like stop. That's not, are you like, why do you feel that way? Like, it's the begging again. Begging. It's just like you're mortified. You're like, what do you mean? What did I do? Like, explain this, help me understand.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way? Why would you say you're not in love? And he's, here comes the threats of divorce again and this and this and this. Well, about 2 hours from home, he falls asleep. So, I'm still kind of crying and like I turn a little bit of music on and we get home, get him inside, get our bags inside, and he goes to sleep. And the next day, sobers up, gets on the video game. I'm kind of like, hey, what was that all about? And he's like, what? Like, and I'm like, you were really drunk and you said these awful, awful things to me last night. He's like, what? Like, and I said, you told me you want a divorce and that you're not in love with me anymore. And he's like, I mean, I was upset, but I don't want a divorce. So here we go again of like, you know, and I'm skipping over some stuff, but
Sure.
but what I want to articulate is that it's like, I want a divorce. No, I don't. I didn't say that. I want a divorce. No, I don't.
Like push
What do
you
mean?
away, pull you closer, push.
But it could almost be on a daily basis sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, it's like the walking on eggshells, the temperature monitoring of the room.
Mm-hmm.
What mood is he in today? Is he mad at me? Did I do something? Why won't he communicate it with me? It was like, yeah, the push-pull dynamic, but it was like tarnishing my mental health. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why? Like, marriage is important. It's sacred. We need to work through these things. And even in a lot of my videos I've shared on social media, I put like the strands of text messages showing his like 1-word answers to my like 3 paragraphs of like, we need to be mature. We need to go to therapy. We need to communicate better. I'm sorry for whatever I did. I take my ownership of my piece of things, you know, and granted, I'm like over explaining and I'm going off the deep end of like, again, over explaining.
Because you're like begging. Oh, it's all right there.
Yep. It's just
Constantly.
like going on and on and on, hoping to feel understood, hoping to be met in the middle or anything. And gosh, it was just so much of that like I couldn't even believe what he would say to me half the time. So then he would say, I want a divorce, and be like, no, you don't. Like, it got to the point where I'm like, I can't even take you seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I said, you kind of get on into, 2022. And right around this time, I had applied for the Green to Gold program in the military, which is you switch from enlisted over to officer, and you can either finish a bachelor's degree or a master's program, start and finish it. I already had a bachelor's degree. So I applied for the graduate program. I knew I wanted to do social work or something in like the public health, kind of mental health realm without going full like clinical psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I basically got everything I dreamed of in my Army career in that like January 22, when that all was going on. I had just found out I got orders to Fort Carson, Colorado, and he got joined with me because I had the most like options and stuff. So I was going to Colorado, where my biological father's side all lives. I have a little brother that I try really hard to build a relationship with. It's here and there and everywhere kind of thing. But I was like, oh my gosh, I would have, that's where my family's from. I've never got to live there. I've always been in Iowa, and now I travel a lot, and I've been to Colorado. It's like, man, what a nostalgic thing to like move there and get to own a house there or something.
Right.
And, so we were excited about that. Then, 2 weeks later, got into Green to Gold, got accepted out of 3,400 applicants. 155 people were accepted into the master's program. Wow, and there's 1,100 ROTC programs in the United States. You get to pick whatever school you want to, as long as you get in and as long as you get accepted into a program and they have an ROTC program, you can go anywhere you want in the whole entire United States.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I was already going to Colorado and he's on orders there because we're dual military. I'll just apply to University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, and they have a great program. So yeah, so I applied to UCCS. I got in immediately. I applied to both the social work and the Master of Sciences in Health and Wellness promotion. And I actually got accepted for both. But then when I calculated course hours for clinicals and internships I would need, I went with the health and wellness promotion because the social work would have required like 1,000 more hours, and it would have been like 60 credit hours per semester or per year. I'm sorry. And the health and wellness one was like 46. So with that being said, we went to Colorado Springs in the February 2022 area, got Carson, got into UCCS, got Green to Gold acceptance out of kind of like a prestigious honor in the military. Mm-hmm. Applied to both programs, got accepted to both, and then chose, the health and wellness one, we traveled out to Colorado Springs to look in the housing areas and see kind of what we wanted to do. And I had friends in the area who are mortgage brokers and realtors from previous military experience. And we ended up buying a plot in a new neighborhood and having, like, it was already going to be a new build, but we bought that and it was on my VA loan. He was co-buyer on the house. And by June of 2022, we closed on the house. July of 2022, I started Green to Gold, like signed into my new unit, got going on my education because, August classes were about to start. And for a little brink of time, everything felt in line. My personal life, there was no intimacy in my marriage at this point, but like, aside from like more of the arguing, there's like no physical stuff. There was, again, I was like, it was a lull in the super explosive, terrible times. It was still not great, but it was like calmer.
Right.
And I'm going in, I start grad school. Everything's great. Love my professor, love the course content. I started an internship with foster kids. I started to build a remedial program for 14 to 18-year-olds who were transitioning out that, how do you buy groceries and how do you make a budget and just kind of some of those skills you may not have had anyone teach you or even expose you to. And so with all of that, we get to training, we get to working out in the mountains. There's the Air Force Academy out there. There's Fort Carson out there. And I had moved from Missouri to Colorado. So, it was elevation and taxing and like kind of rough on your body, moving through things. Well, in October of 2022, I was in the field on the Air Force Academy and I was in a field training exercise with all the cadets and our cadre. And gosh, we did 3 days of patrols and drills and all this stuff, sleeping on the ground in the cold, the typical Army stuff. And the last day we were going to do a ruck march in the morning and do an obstacle course right after that. And then everyone was going to be released for the rest of Sunday. And on the very last obstacle of the day, leading up to that, I had felt like, hey, my leg kind of feels weird. It's like feeling, I was like, oh, I'm chalking it up to, it's hard to breathe up here. Like I'm wearing out faster because I'm acclimating to the area. And I start sprinting towards this obstacle and I go to jump off the ground and my kneecap snaps. My patellar tendon ruptures and the top of my kneecap with my quad comes like flying up into my my thigh. And my leg bends out of disproportion and it's all distorted. And clearly I'm like, I think I always anticipated that you get hurt like that, you're going to cry immediately or like start screaming. And I was literally like looking at my leg in shock and I was like mad, like someone help me up, let me get up, and I'm laying there. I got a little bit of gear on and people are literally like, can I help you stand up? I'm like, well, clearly not. Like, so I'm like hostile almost. Like they get me up on a spine board. They try to take me to an urgent care. And when the lady opens the door, they're like, you can't bring her here. Like get her to an ER immediately. So I go into the ER, they're cutting my uniform off, they're doing all the things you would have happen in the emergency room. And, they give me the drugs, they send me back for, MRI or x-ray. And when I kind of wake up, my leg is straight now, it's strapped all pinned all down or whatever. And I'm in excruciating pain. And I look over and my husband is sitting like 5 chairs away from the bed, like scrolling on TikTok. Now, granted, I was asleep, so like me, fill in the time or whatever. But when I wake up, I look over at him and his body language was just like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but.
Was he like irritated?
Yeah.
That he had to be there?
Yeah. Like burden. You're a burden. And that was just how I was interpreting it. And I look over and granted, I had been off like ketamine and anesthesia type sedation drugs, whatever. And so I immediately start crying. And the first thing out of my mouth is, are you mad at me? And he goes, shh, like, we're not doing this here. And I'm like, what do you mean we're not doing this here? And he's like, I don't want anyone to hear you crying like a little baby because you think I'm mad at you about breaking your leg. Well, fast forward, he was mad at me about it, but he's pretending that I'm just reading into it wrong kind of thing. So we go home, and thus starts the catastrophic. I mean, I would have been I was ready to be put out of my misery. Like my leg, when you go to stand up, like I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. I had to have help raising my leg and all these things. I'm laying on the couch, and he was given 30 days of convalescent leave in the army to like stay home with me and try to help out and get me to some form of like independent level on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But on day 17, we were arguing so badly that he was like, I can't do this anymore. And he left me at home on day 17 after this tragic knee injury, having my whole leg reconstructed in the front half. Can't walk, can't even hardly get myself up to crutch because like everything would kind of fall down into the knee where it was all repaired. And I would dang near pass out like from the pain and like kind of the gut punch of that. And he'd be like, if you have to go to the bathroom, call me. Well, his work's 25 minutes away. And I'm on like all these nerve blockers and all this kind of pain drugs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, what do you do? And then by like 2 weeks in, he's like, I can't help you bathe anymore. So my neighbor was a previous ER nurse and she works from home. So I kind of like, I don't know what to do. He won't help me. And when he's talking to her, he's like, it's because I don't want to hurt her, and you're probably better suited for this because you have medical background and man, because I'm in the tub, like, you know, it's painful and I'm shivering and we tried to get like a chair set up and everything, but I mean, just occasionally he would be attentive, like give me my medicine or do things, but like it was 90% of the time irritation and all these things. And then I finally get to the point where I'm like, why are you so angry at me about this injury? And he's like, because you didn't listen to your body. You listened to somebody telling you to go do this obstacle. And now I know what the next 6 to 12 months of our life are going to look like. And I'm like, what can I do? I don't know what to do. I can't drive to appointments because it's my right leg. It's pinned straight and you start to learn you can't bend it until they get to a certain point. And, it took me almost three months to be able to even stand up really well on crutches. So it was a mortifying time in my life. Like, and then I'm like, what's the implication on my career? What's the implication on my health? All these things. And what's the implication on my marriage and this program I just got accepted into? Yeah. Oh man, it was horrible. And then like one of my first outings into this knee injury and this recovery, I'm still on crutches. We go to a Chiefs Broncos game and he's doing the whole drive us all the way up to Denver in a Subaru STI that that I can't drive. Plus I still can't drive with my leg really. And promises me like, hey, it's our first outing. You hurt your leg all this time ago. You're kind of off all those painkillers and like the ones that are dangerous to drink on. So why don't you have a few drinks? And I am just going to have one in the stadium. Well, you know how that goes, as I've kind of led into before. Mm-hmm. It's like, it wasn't one. And then it was a predicament of the game gets over. He's drunk, stumbling. We go to dinner with a set of friends that had met us up at the stadium, and he pays like this whole it was like a $550 or $650 bill. But in the same breath, I'm like, hey, maybe we need to leave the Subaru downtown and get an Uber home, and then one of your soldiers or something can bring you up to get it tomorrow. I'm not spending no $250 on an Uber to get us home when I have a car right here. I'm like, well, you're really drunk and that's dangerous. And, he's like, well, if you don't like it, you can get a ride. I'm like, well, I don't have $250. And I'm out here in December. It was like a December 15th game or something. I'm out here in Denver in December in a city we live near, but I don't really know Denver like that. And I'm on crutches. I couldn't defend myself for my life because I can't stand up straight, like without the crutch. So I'm like, it's dark. I don't know where to go. I'm not leaving. I don't have my, concealed carry weapon or anything on me because you can't take it in the stadium and stuff. It's like my only logical choice was to get in the car. And that's terrifying now that I look at it. But it's like, it's horrid that like the safest way out that I felt was getting in the car with this guy who's belligerently drunk. And you can only imagine how that ride home went, swerving in and out of traffic, going 110 miles an hour. Somehow, which is always how it seems to work, didn't encounter a cop, didn't crash a car. But it became apparent that like he's willing to put me in any serious situation. And it was always his convenience of money or time or my car, my this over my safety or his own or anybody else on the road. You know, moving into the early days of 2023, he is, you know, well developed. And, you know, at this point, I'm kind of realizing like, okay, I'm rehabbing heavily. They're going to let me try again. They're going to let me rehab and still try to go to the Army training school that I need to at the end of my master's program that I'm eventually going to graduate with in May of 2024. So I'm busting it. I am trying so hard. I'm trying to lose weight through this injury. I'm trying to rehab, build muscle, all of these things. Moving into like the May 2023 period, that's going to like lead into that. He goes to Sacramento, California, and that best friend that was with us at the Six Flags in Sacramento, Vallejo, he moves him down from Sacramento, California, but he flies up there for 5 days until this move. The girl that I caught him deleting the text message from will eventually become more relevant to this, but he goes up there and to my knowledge, he's staying with the best friend. They're going to pack up all the stuff, put it in the U-Haul, drive it back 18 and a half hours to Colorado. And the deal was we were going to let this friend stay with us for like 60 days up front for free. And then he had to get a job and start paying rent. He's supposed to be staying with his friend. Well, the friend has a husky dog that sheds a lot. Next thing I know, 18 hours into this trip, getting up there and staying with the friend one night, he's like, I got to go to a hotel. I can't handle the dog hair. He's not allergic to it. He's just getting irritated. That's all over his clothes. So I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, make whatever decision, but can you send me the location of the La Quinta or whatever you go to? And the La Quinta he chose was actually kind of in a rundown area of Sacramento. So I was like, that's a weird spot for him to choose. Like, you know, not that we're above like a lower, but I was just like, he doesn't even live in that kind of area. Like, go get a hotel near your parents.
Definitely
or
not
something.
the norm for him. Yeah.
And basically, like, as it develops, like, there's moments he's not answering the phone for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then I'm trying to call him and he's telling me, oh, I'm taking a nap. Then we're going to go out and shoot pool, but I'll be with the boys. So don't try to call me too much. Let me have a guy's night kind of thing. Well, there was one night, I don't remember exactly what made me feel compelled to call the best friend. Oh, I got to back this up. The friend that I called, because I finally got like some form of sign of like something's up. It's been like 6.5 hours and that's too long for a nap. You know, it's the middle of the day. And so I call the best friend. And this is one of the situations where other people have been manipulated will probably catch themselves in, where other people sell them out and you don't realize that it's happening. And you accidentally say something that you're not sure the other person didn't know. And then it's like, all the things connect.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, I'm calling the best friend and he's like, hello. And I'm like, hey, where are you? And he's like, at my house. And I'm like, doing what? He's like, laying on the couch, watching a movie with my dog. And I'm like, I thought you were out playing pool. And he's like, well, I was going to join him, but I don't really feel like drinking tonight. And I was like, join who? And he's like, you know, just my husband. And I was like, so where is he? And he's like, at a La Quinta down the street. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, you know, this is where I start to get informed of like, he told me that he wasn't fond of my dog's hair. So I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, we go get an Airbnb or a hotel, like do whatever you got to do. Well, my now ex-husband calls me back at like 10:45 p.m. California time, which is like 11:45 in Colorado. And the next thing I know, he's like, hey, well, he's texting me back first. Hey, babe, I fell asleep and now I'm running out to like, now I'm out playing pool. And I'm going, no, you're not. Like, I just called so-and-so and he said he's not out with you and that you were by yourself and that you went and got a hotel. And he's like, oh yeah, I got a hotel because of the dog hair, and I was going to tell you, but I like got sidetracked trying to check in and everything. And he's like, hold on a second. This is all through text messages. I'm going to call you in a second. And I was like, okay, thinking like, why do you need a second? And like 2 minutes later, he calls me and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm outside the hotel smoking a cigarette in the parking lot. At this point, something had happened where he's like, I don't care what you say, I'm going to smoke them type thing. And I don't remember you telling me anything about the cigarettes. So he's out there smoking a cigarette. And I go, well, why'd you have to wait to call me if you're just in a room by yourself? Like, what took 2 minutes to like get out? And he's like, oh, I just had to walk all the way down to the parking lot. You can't smoke inside. I'm like, yeah, well, you could have called. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It still was just another
Like,
funky detail. Something's
Yeah.
clicking. And so anyway, I don't have a clue what's going on. He's still just like fishing me around and throwing me around, doing whatever. And, you know, they ended up coming back from Sacramento. The best friend moves in, all of those things. And the kind of verbal berating, like the smooth part had kind of like, nope, not smooth anymore. And now we've got someone living in the house who's like a type B personality and very docile. And I'm going like, every time he witnesses something, he's like rolling over on the couch looking the other way. And I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Like, even someone living in my house, I can't prevent this stuff.
Right. It's
And
embarrassing.
yeah, and like kind of leading up into all of that, there were moments he was coming home while I couldn't really walk. And I would smell cigarettes on him and he'd be like, oh, we went out to the field today and the guys were out the smoke point and I walked by and picked up the scent. And then it became,
Got an answer for everything.
oh, 1000%. And then it was like, he's sitting on the couch playing video games like, well, now my couch is starting to smell. Can you come home and change or wash your hands or like whatever? And he's like, oh, now I'm just having one with the boys. Like, you know, kind of was like almost forgetting what he's told me, but like,
He can't keep it all straight.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
because it was like in a text message, he's like, oh, I'm just having one with the boys. I'm like, oh, you just told me the other day that it's like you're walking past a smoke point, but it's not you smoking. Well, then it was like in his car. It was in the garage. I could smell it everywhere. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, nothing. Well, by this point, he's going out in the garage, taking his phone, going out there, and he's sitting out there telling me he just needs like a moment to decompress out in the garage, but I'm still on crutches. So I crutch out to the garage and I open the door. He's got a pack of menthol shorts in his lap, and he's got a cigarette in his ear and one lit, and he's smoking it. I look at him and I'm just like, I thought it was the guys at work. And what do you think he does? He's, you know what? All you do is control my life and blah, blah, blah. And we get going back inside. I'm like, I got to go upstairs. Like, we're arguing or whatever, but I'm crying and he's trying to like lift my leg to help me up the stairs. He gets so mad at me, he leaves me on the stairs. He walks away. And like 15 minutes later, comes back. Now I've painfully scooted myself up the stairs at this point. And I'm like, but I told you about my grandma and I told you about my adoptive mother and I told you I have asthma and allergies. And he's like, you didn't tell me any of that. So here goes gaslight number 9 million. So yeah, now we're arguing about like, you never told me that. I didn't know your grandma died. I never met her. So how would I remember that type stuff? Yeah. So like I said, kind of moving forward into the later periods, the best friend moves in the house. I thought all things were well. Still at this point, no intimacy whatsoever. So yeah, at this point, it's been like from my knowledge, there were maybe a couple of moments where like it was like, you please him. He rolls over in bed and says, well, I got to get up early type stuff. It was back to the kind of excuses, but he would kind of almost take like the self-serving type of intimacy, but never dish it back. And it felt very performative and like still confusing and all these things. Well, up to this point, like I said, no intimacy, but the friend moves in and they're kind of hanging out in the garage or drinking beers. They're having people over 4th of July. It's kind of moving on. And I walk out in the garage one night and he's out there at 2 a.m. talking about a girl named Chelsea. I'm like, the only Chelsea I know is a soldier. Like, so I go out there and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And he's like, oh, specialist so-and-so. And I'm like, not to say your last name or anything on here, but specialist so-and-so, like, talking about, I'm like, why'd you refer to her by your first name? In the Army, we don't do that. Like, at the way, way high up top, like, officers might do that. They're like generals and they're like, hey, Jim, hey, whatever.
Right.
But we don't do that in the NCO ranks. We don't call our soldiers by their first names or any kind of pet names or any kind of thing, like no nicknames for the most part. And maybe your last name turned into a nickname and stuff. So now I'm like, like red flag number 79. Like, what does this mean? And then you try to, you're trying to confront it. And it's, again, every time there's an excuse. There's a gaslight and you're not hearing what you think you're hearing and you're reading into this and you're crazy and all that. Fast forward out of the friend moving into the house. The end of July 2023 into early August, my friend that's here with me and I went on a 8-day road trip through Colorado, out to Utah, all the way back through all the national parks, just exposing her to the West. She'd never been out there. I've lived out there. My biological family's out there, like just enamored by this, going to all the parks and everything. We come back, but there were a few nights before we came back that he'd be like, oh, we're going to stay home and us and the friends are going to watch the UFC fights. And the next thing I'd know, I'd be trying to FaceTime him and he'd be bewilderingly drunk at a Dave & Buster's in Denver, which is 85 miles from my house. And I'm like, well, I thought you were staying home watching. We changed our mind. We just got in the car and went up to Dave & Buster's. What's the big deal? It's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm literally like 16 hours away from you in another state, like not knowing where you're at or not knowing if you're close enough to get help or like you're drunk, you're not answering the phone and stuff. I'm like, it just feels kind of like unsupportive and stuff. Well, he's like, see, I'm here with all my people in my platoon. And he flips the camera and there's the soldier that he was talking about in the garage that one night that he referred to by her first name. And it's just her. Well, there's a lot of males, but there's just her there. And I'm like, wait, was that? And he's like, yeah, she's a part of the platoon. Again, answer for everything. And
you're being crazy.
Yep. And then the next day by this point, we're in Moab going to Arches National Park. And my internet to my Vivint system cuts off. And I'm like, why does the internet not work? Why is the Vivint not working? He's like, oh, been bad winds out here. Like, I'm like, well, yeah, Colorado always has bad winds, but it doesn't always cut our internet off. And occasionally, maybe like 10% of the time, but not. That's a key detail that's going to be very important. But it's just another form of mental control and abuse and, gaslighting and stuff. But we ended up getting back to my house. On the last day she was there, like the night before she was going to fly out, we ended up, like we came back and he was like angry about like me asking him to go help her bring her breast milk inside for her 10-month-old baby that was with us. But he's like taking his anger out of me and he's like, I'm trying to, just like getting verbally berate, but he's kind of like doing it in front of my best friend. And I'm like, okay, like something's weird. Like usually he'd be putting on a show for people.
Yeah, he's like not holding back.
Yeah. And I'm just like upset and, things like that. So anyway, I take her back to the airport. They fly back, Tennessee. And a musician I really love is a guy named NF. And back when he had dropped an album that April, I'd bought these really expensive tickets for me, my husband, and our roommate to go and be kind of close to the stage. And it was supposed to be this big old thing. And we'd come back from our trip and me and my husband go to this concert and he wouldn't drink at the concert. We'd just go out on the town afterwards. And I got my makeup done. I got my hair braided by like a professional. I had my concert shirt and all these things. And he started drinking. He's mad at me because I'm saying like, this is a special night for, I even have these text messages of him when I'd go to the bathroom and try to clean up my makeup that I just got done. And he's like, I don't know why you're saying this is your night. We all put in for it. And they put like $50 in for an Airbnb. I spent like $1,300 on these tickets. Not that means it's just my night, but it was so important to me. Very, very, like that musicians basically like saved my life. You know how people relate super traumatic events, you can connect with musicians on things like that. So this was just so special and profound to me. And now he's like, minimize, it's not your night, da da da. And didn't want to take pictures of me at the concert, just being completely, I'm trying to sing.
God,
And
that's so hurtful.
oh yeah, well then he's like, here he goes again. Like he's like, you look crazy. Like I had space bun kind of braids in my hair and like glitter on my eyelashes and like a mini skirt or like a black pin skirt with like the concert shirt over it and like, you know, Nike shoes. And he's like, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to be seen with you. I'm just like, what? Like at that point I was kind of like, okay, like I'm gonna finish this, so we'll see you afterwards. And he's like, I gotta take a phone call and I'm gonna go out there. And by this point he's had like 3 25-ounce beers. Well, when we meet up after the concert, because the best friend stayed right next to me, he didn't go. And we walk out, we, you know, see him, link up with him, and he starts going in my ear again. And we kind of walk past some cops arresting a guy, he stops. We walk past a big crowd of people, he stops. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, here he goes again. Like, willing to do it in front of friends, but he's not going to do it in front of strangers or cops or whatever.
Yep.
We get in the car, and I mean, he put his mouth up to my ear. The best friend is in the back seat, and he's, I mean, probably the loudest I ever heard him scream in my ear, from an inch from my ear. Maybe not even that. Like almost like lips are touching my
like
ear.
Piercing.
Yes. In my right ear. I'm trying to pull out of this parking lot, and he's like, you know, I effing hate you. I don't ever, you know, doing the same song and dance all over again. And as the guy in the back seat, he never stood up for me, but he's like, hey, you know, calm down. Let's get out of the parking lot and get where we need to go so we can go home and change and like maybe step out for a beer. And I'm just like, we don't need to do that.
Last thing we need to do.
Yep. We don't need that part of the night anymore. Well, rolling, like, you know, you're in a parking lot, you're rolling like 3 miles an hour, whatever you're doing, real slow. He opens the door and he gets out, like stumbles right out of the car, slams the door shut. And then the best friend in the back rolls the window down. He's like, hey man, like, what are you doing? Come on. That's dumb. Like, and he's like, you better get out or I know you're not loyal to me. Well, he didn't get out because he was like, I don't know what he's about to go do. Remember I said he's like very type B, like,
yeah.
Now you would think that would make him want to go with him, but he was like, I don't know what kind of trouble. Right. He's a fighter and stuff when he's drunk. So he's like, I don't know what he's about to do. And so we went back to the Airbnb. He had brought his concealed carry weapon with him. We hid it under the mattress because he was so belligerently drunk. I didn't know when he was going to come back. Yeah. Well, concert got over at like 10:30. We went back to the Airbnb. He goes off walking downtown. He doesn't come home till almost 4 or 5 in the morning. Gets in, crawls right into bed next to me, lays down, faces the other way, and falls asleep. The next morning, because we had driven up separately to the concert. But what happened was his key was in the door frame of my car from when we went and parked at the concert. So I get all the way back down to Colorado Springs, and he's trying to get up and leave, and his key's not in there. So I can't remember what they did. I don't know if they got an Uber or like, I don't know what they did, but they did something to get back. Because I didn't take the key back up to them. And by the time they got back, I was really upset. He was not talking to me. I went and I called my best friend, sitting at Garden of the God, just looking at the mountains and whatnot. And I texted the roommate and I'm like, is he sober? Like, is it safe to come home right now? Like, what am I going to do? And he's like, Kyleigh, I'm going to be honest. He told me the whole way home that he's going to divorce you. So here we go again. But this time it's like coming from a secondary source. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like
he's like probably semi-sober by.
And he's like, he's dead serious. Like it's done. He's so sick of you. Like, and I don't know what to tell him and like whatever. So I'm like trying to come home. Like I come home and he's playing video games on the couch and the best friend sitting next to him. Go there and I'm saying something. He's ignoring me. And then I stand there, flips the headphone off. He's like, can I help you? At this point, he has not mentioned divorce to me. It's coming from the best friend. He's like, no, you can't talk to me. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but you can get out of my face. You know, doing that kind of just abusive conversation. Yes. And he's like, you can go upstairs and process your emotions because, again, we're not going to do this type stuff. And the next 10 days were some of the most excruciating days of my life because he still to this point did not once mention divorce, but he kept saying things like, I have decisions to make. Don't talk to me. You're going to pressure me into decisions you don't want me to make. That's very inconspicuous as far as like, does that mean divorce? Does that mean assault? Does that mean whatever?
He wants you to wonder.
Mm-hmm. And around this time too, something else to add, we would fight over little minuscule things. This is actually a very big detail to add. We would fight over really little things where it felt like it's a 2 and he's blowing it up to a 12 out of 10. And the next thing I know, we're like upstairs arguing about something with the laundry and he's going straight in the middle of me talking or whatever, walks downstairs, grabs the handgun, pops the clip out of it and starts taking the bullets out. So now I'm distracted from whatever we're arguing about and I'm going, what are you doing? And he's like, keeping you and me safe tonight. So again, no physical assault has now ensued since like the really, really major one, but it was always like, what does that mean? And that could have multiple implications. And there's like, what else could you mean by like, I'm leaving the gun on the counter, but I'm taking the clip and the bullets. And I'm trying to keep me and you safe together. I'm not the one talking, you know, I don't have any thought of like going
exactly what he was doing.
He was making me think he's going to commit suicide, homicide or something. And that happened like 3 or 4 different times in that like 3 to 4 month span. So that is where I'm going with this like 10-day span of like, he didn't do it again, but he would say, you don't want me to go there. You don't want to pressure me into decisions. Like you don't want to keep asking me things I'm not ready to talk about, blah, blah, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so here I am in a whirlwind of like, what does that mean? I'm coding everything. And I'm about to start my first day of the second year of my graduate program. I'm about almost 10 months into the recovery of my leg and I'm earning and battling and doing all these things. I get hired to be a graduate teaching assistant in the health programming and the health coaching program. So like a GTA, it's like an extra $3,000 a semester to do that. And on my very first day of graduate teaching assistant, when that was a day ahead of my first day of actual classes, I am standing there. He has still not given me an answer. I'm still like sick to my stomach every day, but trying to put on my best face. And I look down because I had my phone like in my bag. I looked down, I had an Apple Watch on. I'm giving my introduction to the class of like, you know, my degree path and like what I do and how I'm in the military. And I look down and I start to see, I just want you to know it's divorce time. And it kind of scrolls. I can't read the whole thing, but I'm kind of getting the gist of like, we need to talk immediately when you get home type thing. Imagine like you're trying to like focus and like you catch a glimpse of, because it's like an automatic, you get the buzz in your wrist. Yeah. You're like, oh, what? Even if
then that's all you can
our
think
society's
about.
Terrible at that stuff right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look down and like, I'm getting the like that hopeless sinking feeling again. And I'm still trying to make it through. Well, I get done. I run out to my car and I call him and he's like, hello. And I'm like, yeah, like what did that text mean? He's like, that I want a divorce. And I was like, but why? And he's like, because I don't want to be with you. And I'm like, you know, but why? You know, it was kind of just like this, like there's nothing coming out of it. There's no squeeze of juice coming out. Like, and the first thing really out of my mouth after that was like, are you going to take Luca from me? He's like, nope, you can have all 3 of the animals if you want. We had 2 kittens. We had a Bengal cat and a rescue cat. You know, at the time I was like, okay, like, cause I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm going to take all 3. When I got home, he disappeared like all night long. So the next day, that night.
So after he sent those texts, everything else, you go home and he left.
So actually, let me go back. The night that text got sent, when I walked in the door, he was like, I'm really sorry. We got to come to this decision. Like, he's doing that. And then he's like, he's trying to convince me like that it's a peaceful decision and that I need to comply and like agree with him kind of thing. So actually, I ran to get dinner that night and I brought it home and we kind of like acted like nothing was wrong. And he got all the time in the world to make whatever decision he was threatening to make. And then now I'm like, again, back in shock or whatever. And
when you're probably scrambling in your head too, trying to like think of how you can make it okay.
Yeah. And the next thing I know, like, so that was like a Tuesday night. The next day is Wednesday. He gets off work. He doesn't even come home. So I'm like, he's in uniform. Like, where would he be? Little did I know, he's like packing a bag and like taking a bag somewhere. So by that Thursday, so 3 nights after this text, I'm like, where are you? What are you doing? Like, this can't be happening. Like, I'm so confused. You're not talking to me. You just said that, yeah, we're getting divorced and then nothing else. Like, no plan, I'm going to go file, nothing. I mean, he's just like, whatever. And then, on Thursday night, I call him and I'm like, what's the plan here? Like, what are we doing? I need to start grad school and I need to be able to focus and like, I need to know what's happening. And he's like, if you file, I'll pay for it. And he's out at the bar. And little did I know, old roommate that lives with us is also out at the bar, but telling me he's out Ubering and doing Uber for money. And they're at the bar with girls, but I don't know this yet at this point. So I go online and I e-file for divorce. And now it takes some time for like accept it and everything, but I'm bawling my eyes out and I'm telling him like, I'm just laying in the dark. And he's like, he's telling me to file for divorce. And I'm like mortified and like so upset and so hurt. And he's like, go to Taco Bell and get yourself a meal. I'll pay for it and leave you some cash when I get home. Well, he didn't roll through the door till like 11:45 that night. And it was a work night, which is something that was starting to pick up in behavior. And I'm like, we're in the military. Like, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get out by 6:30 or have PT, and it's
Right.
like, how are you staying out till midnight and getting up at 5 every day? Like, so originally all this is happening. I've now filed for divorce and he is kind of acting like nonchalant, like almost like we've never had that conversation. And then he would make passing comments like, well, if we ever decide we don't want to do it, we could just pull it. Cause it's like within 90 days, they won't grant the divorce anyway. So you can pull it within that period of time. He was saying like, he's like, to be smart, why don't we just stay in the same house and just continue on the way we've been living so I can get through, the next year until next summer and you can get through graduates. Now he's acting like he's caring about what's going to happen to my stability.
Doing you a favor.
Yep. And we can keep, our friend in here and he could pay, mortgage and all this stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're going to be okay. I know I don't want you, but you can go find anybody you want. And I'm sitting here like my self-esteem is destroyed. Like, I have no confidence in my body. I don't feel good about myself. I don't like how much I talk. I don't like how much I laugh or how loud I am I don't like anything about myself at this point. And I'm sitting there going, and you're already, I'm not even divorced from you yet. And you're already wishing me like to go off and find something else, which is weird, Basically, he goes off to, I don't know if you know what NTC is. It was like National Training Center out in California. They kind of like war training, whatever. They're out kind of in the desert with these units, whatever. And at this point, again, there's a lot of stuff I found out in hindsight that I didn't know was kind of going on during this period. All I can tell you is it was like, red flag, I'd address it. He'd blow it off or have an excuse or lie or whatever. Mm-hmm. So September comes, he goes off to this NTC, which is typically around a 30-day field training event. That girl that he was mentioning in the garage and that I saw in the back of the David Busters, she is in that unit in his platoon and went with them. So I'm like, like, again, like a weird hair in the back of my neck. This man goes there and I'm like trying to now accept that like, okay, we're getting divorced. Like, I got to at least start to prioritize that we are going to have to make decisions on this, even though he's saying like, we'll live together the next year and we'll just split the mortgage so I don't have to assume the whole house and this and that. I text him on the last few days of this training event and I tell him, I'm going to move all your stuff into the spare room. The spare room was an office that I had been spending thousands of dollars on, even on credit cards and things like that, to build a business office. I made my own theme. I made my own logos. I built the website. I made the social medias because before when I broke my leg and stuff, my dream was to open a health and wellness coaching business online and like even have kind of like an office like this. And maybe I'll do a podcast. Maybe I'll just do content. Maybe I'll, do all my stuff online for the, clients and like do my appointments that way until, we're out of the military and maybe I could have a building for real. But I had all my business stuff, bookshelves, big chair, all that stuff in there. So I was like, I'm going to take the master bedroom because I have my own bathroom. Your best friend lives in the other back bedroom right there. And I'll just put all your stuff in there and move all my business stuff into the master. And I think that's what's going to coordinate the best. And he was like, if you are not moving my freaking room. If you don't leave my stuff in there and you don't let me in the bed I feel like sleeping after I was sleeping on the ground for a month, I will bust the door down. So in that week, I had went out to Tennessee to visit my best friend for her daughter's first birthday. I am on the way back at the terminal, getting on the train in the Denver International Airport. And I am texting my best friend and the roommate. I think he's going to get violent when we get home. He's not willing to have boundaries over this whole divorce talk. And he's like screaming at me in all caps in his messages and on the phone. And if I send you this emoji, call 911. Because I can't do it. I can't take a strangling or a whatever again. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally making like a safe plan to even get home for him to return from a military training. So he gets home. I have moved his stuff into that room. Slamming stuff around, telling me to get the F away from him, going out in the garage, slamming the door, brings in a build-it-yourself dresser that he's going to put in that room I put him in, and drops it on the floor from the upstairs. I mean, just dramatic. Started to do the whole thing where I'm like, I'm emotional, and I'm like, why are you acting like this? Like, this is what you wanted type thing. He's like, I didn't say I was moving out, so why are you moving me in a different room? Like, he wanted to be filed for divorce, but have the control, but also like be able to say like, I'm getting a divorce, but I'm also going to still live with her where she takes care of everything and white picket fence when you don't know what's going on behind closed doors thing. And this man comes home, builds all his own furniture and starts going out to Uber as well. That's a side job that I actually have as well. And I'm the one that got his best friend to start doing it as a side hustle or as a, whatever. By the end of September and him kind of coming home and all that stuff unfolding, he starts to say he's going to Uber. And I think that's what he's going out and doing. Fast forward a couple of weeks. My ex-husband the drinking was getting worse. Those little like drinking on work nights, going out till midnight, like that picked right back up. And then it was always, we're going down to shoot pool. We're doing, it's always a lie. Mm-hmm. It's always something set up and like some cover story.
Right.
Well, he tells me one night that he's out shooting pool with the guys and I see him on the interstate behind him in the dark, like going north towards Denver. I don't say anything because I'm like, I'm just like, he's going to have an excuse anyway. Mm-hmm. So when this occurs, I put two and two together that like he's going to link up with someone, something is happening, and he is lying to me about something. Well, the next day, on Sunday, October 8th, 2023, I am at a bar watching Chiefs-Chargers game, and I'm going to a Jesse Murph concert that night by myself up in Boulder, Colorado, which is 2 hours north. And he calls me while I'm sitting there watching the football game. Now, mind you, we were not hardly talking at this point, aside from his angry outburst and telling me to get away from him and go to your room and deal with your emotions somewhere else. And I don't want to hear this. And you can make this amicable, or you can choose to make this the hard way, but I'm living in this house till I say so. And again, I'm just like, okay, I don't think that means divorce then. Like, now I'm back here trying to backpedal and earn the love back thing. Well, I go to this Jesse Murph concert. He's telling me he's going out with the guys again. It's a Sunday night. The next day is like the Columbus Day holiday, and the Army gives you a 4-day weekend, so you don't have to work the next morning. I come back from the Jesse Murph concert after he had called me. He was like, hey, me and the guys are going to come over there where you're at, and we're going to sit there, watch the Chiefs game with you. And I'm like,
Why?
Okay. Yeah, because I'm like, at this point, I'm like, what? Like, that makes no sense. And you haven't even brought your friends around me to like even really kind of know who they are. I was like, okay, sure. There's 4 spots at the bar next to me.
Now you're thinking, oh, there's hope.
Yep. And he sits down next to me, and the guy next to me is like an Eagles fan. We're chit-chatting stats and football. And my ex-husband goes right across my chest, and he's like, hi, I'm her husband. Like, being a ass to the guy next to me who's just innocently talking football with me. And then I'm going, yeah, I'm just like, every little thing was like questioning my own mind and like, well, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? So anyway, I come back from the Jesse Murph concert after the game, and I went to the concert, came back. He's gone. He's not in the driveway. His car's in the garage. I come home. The next thing I know, I'm texting him, saying something about, I need to grab something out of the room you're staying in. I think you got Tums in the bedside drawer. He's like, yep, okay, go grab it. The next thing I know, I start to doze off, and I get a crash notification. And you know, I don't know if you know, but like the iPhones do the, like, if you drop your watch or you drop your phone, if it drops at a certain rate of speed, or it sees you traveling on a GPS and then something, the phone goes flying, it thinks you've been like ejected from the car.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a SOS safety thing. And I'm still listed as a safety connect. So I get like 3 notifications back to back. I open my eyes. I'm kind of like, what? Like, what am I looking at? It's giving me a pinpoint location to the entrance of our neighborhood that is 2 miles from my house. So, I mean, I'm slamming on the roommate's door. I get in my car, and I probably went 80 miles an hour down this tiny residential road, got all the way there, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I get an alert, and the roommate's trying to call me at the same time. He's like, he just set the alarm off because he put in the wrong code in the front door. I was going so fast and was I didn't see anybody going the opposite way as me. So I'm like, how did he get there? So I go back. When I get there, he is drunk, face down. Soldier is pacing my living room, super drunk as well. And he's like vomiting on the floor. So I am telling them, like, I'm panicking. I'm like, get him upstairs, get him out of that pile, like, get him up to the bathroom in the tub where the typical thing you would do. And I'm just like, what the heck? And I grab this. I'm like, what are you doing in my house? He's like, he told me I could stay here. I'm like, no, you're his subordinate. You can't sleep in my house. You're going to sleep in your truck, or I'm ordering you an Uber home. And he's, I'll sleep in the truck then. I'm looking at him. I'm like, what were you guys doing? He's like, he was puking on the bar down at Tony's bar in downtown Colorado Springs, and one of the other soldiers took his handgun out of the car and pointed it at someone, and the cops got involved, and it's tragic. And then he got in the car and he drove us all the way back here. And I'm going, okay. And he goes, and he can't find his phone anywhere. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, he can't find his phone anywhere. And he's like really worried about it because we had just bought those phones. So I was like, well, maybe he's worried because maybe he doesn't know where the phone we just bought was. So I go, lost his phone? He's like, yeah. I'm like, who drove you home? And he's like, oh, Sergeant so-and-so. He was really drunk. And I said, did anybody fall at any point? He's like, oh, yeah. He was driving into the neighborhood and going like 75 miles an hour. And then my husband starts vomiting in the back of the car. Or like has to vomit, whatever. So again, the car's moving. He slams on the brakes to try to not have him puking in the car, opens the door, and my husband falls out of the car. And it's like an Escalade, big SUV car. And by the story, he's like vomiting in the grass. And like next thing he knows, he's crawling around looking for his phone. doesn't have a clue where the phone went. So they drive away and go to the house thinking like, you know, maybe the watch will find the phone and this and that. But he falls down, passes out, vomits, whatever. It clicks in my brain that crash notification was from his phone that he can't find. So I go right back down the road and I have a video of me getting out of the car and walking straight up to his cell phone face down, and emergency services are going, we have contacted your contact. Would you like me to call EMS services? And it's like doing like the alert thing. So I pick it up, I click no, and I kind of close the phone and I open it back up. And I had always known his code for his phone, 223636. But I never touched it again after those initial rages over like, don't touch my phone stuff. And I can't tell you what happened in this moment, but you know, if you put too many bad passcodes in a phone, it'll lock you out and it'll do like the 24, you can't open it for 24 hours type thing. No idea. I'm not even, like I said, not even really like a strong religious believer or anything like that. And I just kind of like closed my eyes. And I guess at this point I was like, if I'm supposed to get in this phone, I'll get the right guess. I put a 6-digit birthday in and the phone unlocked. What? So I start looking and immediately start seeing. And I'm like, oh my God. Like in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, I have to go in and turn off the location services. Otherwise he's going to see it on, at this point, I don't know when he'll wake, you know how that goes, but like, I don't know how this is going to go. I need to make sure he can't find me and where I am with this phone. So I drive down, this is like 2 a.m. I drive down to a Walgreens in Fountain, Colorado, and I take my phone, plug it in, take his phone, plug it in, open it back up. And for 5 hours, because it was like 7 a.m. Yeah. For 5 hours, I sat there recording on my phone and slow scrolling through every text message, every bank statement, every single thing in that phone that I could possibly. I even went to deleted text messages that had like the will delete in 30 days, which tells me there was a bunch of stuff I still didn't find even with all of this. In that phone, which I ended up having to like process all this over the next few days, but in that phone, there were 17 other women. There was a few like full-blown affairs. There was a few like just sexual encounters. There was women he was trying to like connive into like sexting him through Snapchat and all this stuff. But here's the crazy part. I opened that phone and I saw apps he was always like, don't post pictures. He was just like all these other guys I've dated, super private about social media and this and that. I found a Twitter or an X account and an OnlyFans icon. So I click on them. It is completely full of these fake accounts, full of gay and transgender porn, contacts, messages, in a non-judgmental way. It is crazy to be with what you think is a monogamous man who doesn't cheat, who is just married to you, and find other women, let alone, oh my gosh, he's told me before, like, he was so uncomfortable watching the Ted Bundy documentary because there was a gay porn scene in there and those various things.
So it contradicts everything he's ever said.
Everything he's ever said, the kind of rage almost, like he kind of gets all worked up and like, I'm looking through this and it's like explicit, awful, like crazy things I'm looking at. Back to the comment on the sex doll thing, I was like,
oh yeah.
I'm like, and at the time you're just like, you're just staring. I like, it took me 2 days to process what I was looking at because I started going through these videos. And I mean, I know what transgender is, but like, you know what something is. You're not like
seeing it all.
You're not seeing it. Yeah. You're not enacting it. You're not into it. You're not interested. And that's why I'm saying like, it's shocking because it's like, he is being someone he's not to my face. And like, again, it's like a betrayal. It's just like any form of cheating, but it's like, you know, like all these different
That's
dynamics
like
with
an
it.
extreme,
Yes.
you know, compared especially with the things that he would say.
Yeah.
And
And
the
then
way he
I'm
would act about that.
right. And then I'm sitting there looking through this, and he's like reposting these sex videos, like basically like a porn site. He's reposting ones that he likes. And I'm like, so he's not just looking, he's engaging.
Yes.
He's talking to them. He's reposting stuff. And then like even in the Snapchat, it's like naked photos and sexual conversations and, oh, I need to get divorced and marry you so I can hurry up and have kids because I'm getting too old to do that. Oh my gosh, he was taking photos of me in my house, making fun of my weight to other women. I'd be like in the kitchen cooking spaghetti. He was like watching TV or like playing the video games, and he'd be like taking a photo and be like, look at this dumb bitch over here making spaghetti like it's going to save our marriage. When I didn't even at that point know that we were getting divorced. Because like I said, I'm finding conversations that were like 6 months back or 9 months back and like stuff that had been established for years, which means, I mean, we've been together for like 3 years at that point. It means he was doing it the entire time.
Were you super angry at this point, or were you just
was
devastated?
exhausted.
Like, yeah.
Because I had been up to go to that concert. So I had really only had like an hour of sleep. And now it's like 6, 7 in the morning and I'm still scrolling through this stuff. Like I was almost too exhausted to like truly like catch everything inside.
Do you finally believe he's a complete freaking asshole after seeing all that? Or are you still like, oh, I'll save him?
This was my moment of absolution. And here's really like the biggest moment was I have to do something, because if I go home with this phone after everything I just found, if I walked in on him cheating on me with my best friend and that was one incident, one person, whatever, and now I've just found proof of like 17 affairs. In the military, infidelity is a misconduct / crime.
Oh.
So this was also why in the beginning with the other story that I'm saying, he was like, are you taking this to police? Are you going to tell my chain of command?
Yes.
Because it can get you in so much trouble and get you demoted, and it can kick you out of the military and different things like that.
Right.
So,
wow, I didn't know that.
So that's context. It's why it's important to know that like now I'm sitting in this car and the sun is coming up. I'm exhausted. It's Columbus Day. The military's off. People were out drinking last night and various things. I called my colonel from my ROTC program at the UCCS where I, was in green to gold. And I said, sir, yeah, is everything okay? No. If I go home right now, my husband's going to kill me. Like, I'm in extreme danger right now. I cannot go home, whether it's physical assault, death, shooting, you picking up the gun, whatever. Like, I know if I walked in that door, that man was going to do anything he could to destroy the phone, take the phone from me. And if I would have even mentioned that I got into it, or like, which I think he would know that if I was gone that many hours with this phone.
Right.
But I told him, like, I need help right now. Like, I need someone to help me get in my house to get some bags to stay somewhere else or whatever. And he's like, no, we need to call his commander and tell him to put a military protection order in place, because that's obviously a threat of violence and I said, yeah, it's already occurred before, and he strangled me. I mean, he strangled me almost to like what could have been death at that point. And yeah, so we three-wayed the commander, and I told him what happened. And remember I said he's kind of like a calm, cool, collected guy out in public and like great in the military, great for that lifestyle. And then you could just tell by the conversation that the commander was like, okay, like, we'll put it in place and we'll go get him out of the house. And
did he believe you?
I'm going to say no, because what kind of comes next is like, they went to get him around 4 hours after he was supposed to be taken out of the house. That's when they finally went over there on their day off. And they could not get in my house. They were on the camera knocking, ringing my alerts were going like crazy. Knocking, all this. And then I finally was like, sir, do you want my house code to get in the house? He's like, sure. So, they're yelling for him. It took them 30 minutes to even get contact with him, to find him upstairs drunk in the tub or like on the floor or whatever. And he was informed that there was a military protective order and he needed to leave the house immediately. Well, he didn't leave the house for 2 hours. When I got the notice that he was officially on Fort Carson, out of the house, and I could see it on the camera too, but I want to make sure.
What the hell was he doing during that time?
So I went back home because now I'm like, okay, I can go home. I put the door code in. No,
There's people there.
No, nothing works.
Oh.
I cannot get into the house. So the code don't work. I used his old code. That didn't work either. So for 3 hours, I'm calling my commander back and I'm like, sir, he locked me out of my house. He did something in my security system. I can't get in any way. He's like, no windows open, doing the typical. I'm like, no. He's like, and it's cold, kind of cold outside. It's mid-October. It's chilly. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I've been standing out here for a long time. Like, I need someone to help me. So he calls the county sheriff and he's like, is this a crime for him to lock her out of the house when he's being picked up for a military protective order? And they started to put a warrant out for his arrest. And the commander got notified of that. And 5 seconds later, the new door code gets texted to my colonel. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so he changed everything. In that time frame, he gets taken over there. He's not allowed back in the house, but the commander's texting me going, we're going to have to work out something. Maybe you take the house for a week and he takes the house for a week. And that's why I felt like you don't really take this seriously. Like,
right.
You're not understanding the threat that I'm under or what kind of violent behaviors or insinuations, intimidations that he does.
Like, we're just going to share the house now?
No. Yeah. And so when I finally get inside the house, I go to the screen of the security system and it's like, blah, blank, blank, deleted user Kyleigh so-and-so. And it's like, change the door tone, change the pin, deleted the pin, deleted extra guest users. It was like 50 different actions to like completely reset the entire thing. Mm-hmm. And then log himself back in with a new code that I didn't know. And then when I went in, my Wi-Fi and my modem router thing that I had was ripped out of the wall. And there was like a hole in the wall where like, the jack port thing goes. And I'm like, he doesn't own that Wi-Fi thing. Like, where is that? That's like a $250 thing. Like, and the commander's texting me back. Well, he says he pays for that too. So he has entitlement to it. What are you going to do with a modem you just ripped out of the wall and the cords are probably damaged? And
right.
Other than prevent me from finding things on the internet you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or potentially walking into, further issues that, not to make presumptions or assumptions, but like, and thus started the 10-day experience of taking the 5 hours of videos and making over 4,800 screenshots and then dropping them to Criminal Investigations Division on Fort Carson. Because I also reported the violent crime that had occurred because there's no statute in most places. There's no statute in like if someone committed a crime 20 years ago, you could still hold them accountable later. So, but my whole point of reporting that prior, I was like, that is so I can help you understand why this is such a dangerous situation for me. That's going to mortify his character and mm-hmm. potentially like, how, like if he's hiding it in the dark, he doesn't want anyone to know. And now that I know it,
right.
I have knowledge he doesn't want me to have type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dropping these, files 50 at a time out of the 4,800. It takes me like 10 days, 14 days, whatever to go in and do the interviews. And at this point, I can't do anything in grad school. I'm like one track minded. It takes forever to drop these files. My life flipped completely upside down. I went in to the El Paso County Sheriff and filed a temporary protection order. And that got renewed after 2 weeks. He still wasn't allowed to come home because now the protection order is preventing the military from saying, yes, you can go home. You also own that house kind of thing.
Okay.
And then on December 4th, 2023, we had the third extension of this protection order occur. Now he's walked up and signed these protection orders, concurring to them every single time, right in front of me, right in front of the judge. Well, on this specific time, the roommate was with me.
With you?
But here's, in those text messages, the roommate knew everything and was in on everything and hid everything and lied to me about everything while he was living pro bono in my house.
Oh.
And that whole like faking, like, I'm not going to defend you because I'm beta, like type B, scaredy cat type personality was actually a more very like calculated, manipulative.
Yep.
He tried to say later that, you know, he did it out of fear of retaliation from my husband at the time. And so I was able to go through all of these messages, and that's where I'm finding that he's taking photos of me. He's got ongoing affairs. He's telling girls he's going to move in with them. He's going to marry them, all these things. And none of them know about each other. And some people he was lying to me about, or he was telling people he wasn't married sometimes if they didn't.
Is he like insanely hot or something that he's able to pull in all these women, men, everything? I mean,
apparently, obviously I married him. So, you know,
yeah,
in my brain, there was an attraction there.
Yeah.
Kyleigh boy, tatted pretty much from head to toe. Brown hair, kind of kept himself
kind of like a bad boy.
Yeah. Tattoos. Yeah. Like I said, tattoos head to toe. But he's on the smaller side and like I said, 5'11". He's not super tall. He's not super buff or anything like that. He's just, you know, but I still found him like attractive. And like I said, I think I was more drawn to the cool, calm, and collected that he presents kind of like upfront and outwardly.
Right.
Because it's kind of
just
the polar
crazy
opposite.
that he can. Wow.
At this protection order hearing, like I said, the 3 times he signed the protection order for the judge, I had backtracked a little bit to say that the roommate was still living with me, even though I had discovered he was
part of it all.
Part of all of it.
Yeah.
Like all of the manipulating and the gaslighting and the lying to my face and the playing the like timid guy who was afraid of my ex-husband and all this stuff. Well, to fill in just a teeny bit of the gaps from like all those times I was saying I knew something was up, but I didn't know. He was that Dave and Buster's night. He was going out there. The roommate was driving. He was back in the car into my garage, cutting the security system, going halfway into the garage, popping the trunk, dropping the seat, and the girl would climb out of the seat, and then they would hook up in my bed, in my shower. I mean, I even found long black hair in her, like in my bathroom. And another thing, I'm like, none of us have black hair in the first place, but none of it is this long.
Yeah.
I mean, just as long as yours. Like, and again, I don't know, maybe he had someone over behind our back type stuff.
Oh.
Talking about the roommate, whatever.
Always has an answer.
The night of the concert, when he walked off into Denver in the middle of the night, he met a girl at a bar downtown and went to her apartment, got in an Uber with her and got her phone number. And I'm not entirely sure what ensued there, but that's where he was for that 6 hours.
How'd you find out?
Because the text messages between them.
The texts.
Yeah, so when I discovered all this, I'm starting to put
it all
pieces
together. Yeah.
I mean, and then the National Training Center, when he was out in the field, that soldier of his that he was always talking about in the garage and everything, they were having sex in military vehicles. Oh, gosh. And he was her platoon sergeant. So she was like a subordinate soldier. She was married with 2 kids.
Oh, no.
They were and then the other thing to add to this, where, again, my mind goes, I'm in the Army. I know what those conditions are like. You're having sex, they call it the box. Like, you're out in the box 21 days, no showers, you're baby wipe showering, all this stuff. And they're out there, like, doing explicit things. And
they're dumb enough to talk about it in their texts.
They were taking photos with each other of each other's parts and stuff, like selfies in the trucks and all sorts of things. Yep. And then at the same time, he's out there hooking up with her in the National Training Center, and his barber, the female barber that worked downtown in Fountain, Colorado, she was another one of the affair people who was also in my house. And when those nights he was Ubering, he was going to her house where her mother lives. She lived with her mom, and he was like making out with her in the kitchen. And I mean, just every little thing that was like, I'm Ubering, I'm out in the field.
Just all lies.
Absolutely nothing could ever be wrong, blah, blah, blah. Everything was a lie. He told me that when I broke my leg the first time and he went back to work after the 17 days because I was driving him crazy, he wasn't going back to work. He was going to girls' houses and yeah. I mean, because obviously he's lying to the army too if he's that big of a liar to me.
Yeah, yeah.
He manipulates everybody around him. Yeah, I mean, I basically, like I said, then I find like the text message of me making fun of me, telling half the people we're divorced, not telling anybody about me, talking to ex-girlfriends, just like, and then like I said, I found all the evidence that the roommate was in on everything. And probably not the right decision, but I basically pinpointed that roommate and was like, you're not moving out. If you move out, I will sue you for every dollar that you have lived in my house for free while you took advantage of my resources. You ate my food. Your dog tore up my fence. Your dog tore up my backyard. Your dog shed all over my garage and all these other things. Like, you're paying for all that. And you will live here until I can dig myself out of this mess because you helped create it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason the ex-husband wasn't, or the soon-to-be ex-husband was, because there's protection orders and all of these things.
Right.
But yeah, then move forward back. So the roommate is with me in the courtroom, and the third time the protection order is getting extended, and we were heading up to go. I always like kind of decompress at my favorite restaurant where my friend Lindsay worked, and after any court hearing, just to kind of eat something, get the nerves out, and like kind of just chit chat with someone, give them an update on what's going on.
Right.
And he was with me, and the next thing I know, we're on the interstate, like a mile, like we got on the exit, went a mile north of the courthouse, and my ex-husband's behind me, and he's got a 150 yard, yardage limit on what he's allowed to be within a school, a house, a nail salon, my car, so on and so forth. He followed me from the courthouse all the way to almost all the way to my restaurant. That was 13.1 miles, 22 minutes. I'm panicking in the car, telling the roommate, you need to record this, get him on camera. Like, I need evidence of this. And I'm panicking, trying to call my lawyer. Like, would this be a situation I would report? Well, the lawyer was in court all day, so he didn't respond to me. So I'm like second guessing, like, is this a crime thing? Because I actually had never been put in that specific situation before.
Right.
And the next thing I know, like 2 days later, my lawyer calls me back. He's like, you need to call up Pasco County Sheriff and you need to give them that video right now. So I did. I called there, and I actually was coming down with like COVID or influenza or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, can I send it to somebody and them not come in my house? I don't want to get people sick. Here I am, like potentially in all this danger, and I'm like still looking out for
everyone
else. Did he really do something wrong? I don't want to get the cops sick, so on and so forth. And like the cop was like, yep, that's a crime. He was within 5 feet of your bumper for more than this. He didn't move out of your lane. He made no aversion attempt. He never tried to turn off and go a different way.
Right.
Like anything. And he knows better than that. That's the third time they've extended this thing. So again, he's going to manipulate and play dumb about it, but like he completely committed a crime. Well, then they go to arrest him on staff duty at Fort Carson, and he gets out. They're like putting him in cuffs, and he's like, why are you arresting me? I didn't get out of the car and hurt her. You want to see the video? I can prove it. So he recorded himself committing a crime that is statutes of, in Colorado, it's a statute of domestic violence, stalking, and harassment. He got arrested, spent 4 nights in jail, got a deferred bond, got 2 years or something of probation, which imposes a mandatory criminal protection order at this point, which at that point you call 911. You don't report like hey, like, I think you messed up thing, and then they come out and investigate. You call 911 and the police like come to you. And it would be a mandatory felony if he violated it. Moving past that, I'm writing victim impact statements. I'm saying he doesn't deserve to come off probation or nothing. And I realized that he's moved in with one of the girls, mistresses that he was cheating on me with. So that barber, She had a split tongue. She had kind of like satanic like tattoos, and like what they were discussing in the text messages, like love blood rituals and like going out into the woods and doing sacrificial things. And he was all compliant, like, yeah, I have a lot of blood. I have, like, again, another portion of like, I would never expect that from him. Like, just completely living multiple different lives and chameleon behavior, like meshing into all these different like personalities and hobbies and interests and saying yes to so many different things. And so that happened, the arrest happened, the probation happened, court was going on and on and on, different things. We reached an agreement. We would do a no contact order through the divorce once it happened, and then the mandatory criminal would stay in place for 2 years. And so we dropped the temporary protection order, but the investigations in the Army were still going on. And he was being like relieved for cause from his platoon sergeant position. He was facing all these criminal charges and like, you know, investigations. And like I said, all these misconducts, and some of it slowly started to kind of happen. And then other parts, he was actually facing a military court martial with potential prison time at first. And then the people who own the house at the lake and the girl he cheated on me with all gave statements that actually corroborated a lot of the story, but they backed out of being a testifying witness in a court trial under oath because they thought they were too intoxicated to remember correctly. So it got dropped to an administrative separation instead of a court-martial trial. And at that point, prison or jail was off of the table.
Were people supporting you at this point, or were they going against you? You know, like taking his side because all of this was happening?
At this point, to be really honest, I wasn't telling a whole lot of people about a lot of things because I'm in the military and all these investigations. I actually was pretty silent. Like, people knew I got divorced and like knew he kind of fell off the face of the earth and my posts and everything. But aside from like my closest people, not a lot of people were really like informed of anything. So he wasn't gathering people like, oh, listen to what she did. He was. Oh. But people were like, well, I know her. Oh, somewhat. He was trying to do like the flying monkey on the wall thing. Right. Like trying to say, she set me up. She did this to me. She's going to ruin my career. Like that kind of stuff. Okay. And people would come back and tell me things like soldiers we deployed with, like, hey, you're not the only one they respect. They respect me too. They have memories of me too. Like, you know, maybe they're trying to stay neutral and not pick sides at this point. Well, from that point, all these trials and stuff, like I said, they had let me down. I actually not relinquished, but I had reached out to the friend that slept with my husband and been like, I do truly believe that you owe it to me to speak on these things, to do not that you're ever going to make up for it, but it's like the step in the right direction of showing that you've changed and it's like moralistic code or something, you know? And they denied it. They were like, no, we're not helping you. Like, we feel like we're too intoxicated. We don't want to have that kind of control over someone's future and career. Like, even the one that slept with them, they were taking his side all of a sudden. Like, that was really hard because I was like, here we go. Like, so like I said, the roommates living with me, the violation of the protection order happened. All that court stuff was going on. April 22nd of 2024, the divorce is final. And I thought at the moment it was like, kind of like, I was actually like, this is kind of a weird situation. We were divorced in April and we had some initial like agreements on property division and the marital home and all these things. And then everything was kind of cool with that. I still had communication with his lawyer. I was getting ready the next month, or actually literally like 2 weeks later, to graduate with my master's degree, which was really great. Now I've got 2 months to go to this Army training that's going to save my career so I can still commission as a medical services officer. So kind of quiet about him. We're still not sure what's going on with all those investigations. So yeah, moving forward, I go to this training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I get to day 27 of 35. There's a thunderstorm. We're out patrolling. We're doing all these things. And lo and behold, I fracture my tibia, tear my ACL, and tear my meniscus in the same leg. and I get sent home again. It's a 2 strikes, you're out type of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? What's this implication on my career? What's going to happen? My commission, I just got my degree. Like I earned this. I worked hard for this. Like,
Yeah.
and by December of 24, they were like, we're done. The commanding general doesn't want to approve any third year extensions. No commission for you. You're going to drop back to a staff sergeant in the Army. You can get your first look for E7 or whatever happens from here.
Oh my God. All because you got hurt?
Yeah, once the like secondary in the same leg, it kind of becomes a disability and like too much risk versus reward type thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they kind of took the commission and then thought I was going to go back needs of the Army and do stuff. But then by January of this year, January of 2025, no, you're going to medical evaluate out. We're going to either separate you or retire you. Yeah, so I had like a second major surgery, and I guess I had the surgery back in October 23, but I officially knew that after that surgery, I was going to be medically retired out of there by January. But a little insertion, one of the pseudo grandmas that kind of, took over me and took after me and stuff, she came out for the surgery in Colorado during that second leg break and surgery from that. And we had always been on great terms. But when she comes out, she's acting extremely weird. Like she had just retired. She was like bringing bottles of Bailey's over to my house before the surgery. She was acting very strange about oxycodone and Narcan being prescribed to me for surgery. They would tell me I could have 1 to 2 pills. She's giving me half of a pill after a major knee surgery.
Oh God.
Like just weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically like to wrap that piece up, we did not end on good terms. She one day was like super irritated with me about like, she went and got groceries and then slaps down a receipt for like $117. And I said, do you want me to pay you back for that? I guess I was more in like, I'm down and out and I'm hooked up to this ice machine plugged into the wall. I can't walk right now. Like,
right.
I guess I was more like, do you need me to pay you back right now? Or like, is that a priority type thing?
Mm-hmm.
And she like starts yelling like, of course I need you to pay me back. Why else would I slap the receipt down? And then she kind of looks at me. She had like Chick-fil-A for lunch for us. She spills something on the floor and then I go to make a that's my new carpet. Like, could you clean that up? And that was it. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
What?
And she's like, I'm just letting you know that when I eat this sandwich, I'm going upstairs. My friend is picking me up. My friend? I'm like, friend? Like, who?
Yeah.
And I'm leaving. And now it's 2 days prior to when she was supposed to stay through. And I'm still like coming off anesthesia and stuff. And on this like oxycodone and everything. And like can't get my own stuff. Like, so my best friend flies out on a red eye. She leaves. It's like an explosive. I have a video of like me saying, you need to leave. You need to leave my house. This is ridiculous. This is not okay. And she's like, you'll never let go of the fact that you're a trauma kid. You'll never let go of your first 16 years of life. You are condescending. You are selfish. You are ugly minded. I have never had someone treat me as badly as you have treated me. Just on and on and on. Again, like back to like a verbal berating from someone I've never had a conflict with in my entire life.
Right.
I'm like, where is this coming from? And then I'm kind of like calling the other like pseudo grandma and the one that was actually best friends with my grandmother that died. And for like a week, she was not talking to me, answering the phone. She gave me excuse after excuse after excuse. And then eventually my best friend flew out on the red eye to like, she's like, I'm not going to leave you. Like I was vomiting from anesthesia and the drugs. And like, I'm very sensitive to things like that. Eventually I kind of was like, so what, why are you avoiding me? She's only asked me about like, oh, what are you and your bestie going to do? I'm like, take door off the hinges so I can vomit because I can't walk.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What are we doing? She's not here for a party.
Right.
And basically the only family I've ever known in my entire life blows me to the wind. Like basically says like, I don't want anything to do with you. You're going to accuse me of talking bad because, I was saying, what is she saying all this for? Like, and why are you, I'm putting pieces together and I'm kind of making assumptions that like, well, you're not talking to me and she just did this. Are you talking to her only? Like,
Right.
kind of rummaging through my thoughts of
Yeah.
like, what is causing you to be avoidant? And you're not even, my grandma was a chatter person. Like,
Right.
she's more open and like, I'm like, why are you avoiding me all of a sudden? And then, 2 months later, after complete silence, I got from the one that came to my house and was acting the way she was acting, I got, if you ever text my phone again, she said, I have heard that the Army takes abusive harassment quite seriously.
Wow.
Which they obviously know my ex-husband, and I'm going, what?
And now she's
like,
threatening you.
But she's saying like something, she doesn't know anything about the military. So why all of a sudden are you saying something to me I've never talked to you about in my life? And she actually testified, because one of the people that I called when the first assault happened at 5 a.m. was her. And she was like trying to calm me down from my panic attack. So she testified to the Criminal Investigations Division as well on my side of things.
Right.
And the next thing I know, it's like, F you, I don't want anything to do with you. You're so selfish and condescending and all these things. And then it was like, if you ever text my phone again, I've heard the Army doesn't take abusive harassment very lightly. And it was like, my ex-husband had just been arrested for stalking and harassment, and the Army is now back involved again with further investigations, and he's being investigated for abuse. So I'm like, I'm piecing that, like, she had to have gotten that from him. Like, nothing else makes sense.
Like he's talking to her.
And then I'm going back and I'm going, friend that picked her up to take her to the airport. And I'm going, either she knew someone she worked with in the area or they were linking up. Again, maybe an assumption, but what makes sense?
Right.
You're coming to a place where you've never lived. And, I'm not saying people can't know people in another city,
but
he lives 4.5 miles down the road from my house. What's going on kind of thing. So then the other grandma that I was very, very close with, I eventually was like, like, what's going on? Like, half the family came to Colorado and nobody even told me they came, and, so on and so forth. And she was like, yep, like, just so you know, wish you luck. Hope you find the family you're looking for someday. Even though she was my only family. And it's now been a year and I haven't heard not a single word from anybody in that entire family on either side. And I still to this day have no clue what I did.
He got to them.
Oh yeah.
Somehow,
well, it's about to reach to the point where it's proven. Moving past that, I'm rehabilitating. They basically tell me that I'm definitely medically retiring. Now I'm grieving and I'm like, oh my gosh, my commission's gone. My marriage is gone. My Army career is ending. And that's what I had invested all this time in. My physical health has dynamically changed significantly. I can't work out the same. I can't, wear cowboy boots for hours on end, or my leg gets weak and all these different things. I'm still in physical therapy. And by March, I was so suicidal again that I actually called in and was like, I am having like self-harm, like panic attacks and like repetitive, intrusive. 75% of my day, I'm sitting here thinking about wanting to die. I don't deserve to live. I'm not worthy. No one loves me. Everybody leaves me. Everyone always has an excuse for like why I'm not good enough or why they walk out the door. I mean, down to like the family I thought would never abandon me.
Yeah.
And here we are again. And I'm like, can't wrap my head around it. So I start going to an EMDR therapist. At first, it's nothing profound at first because we got to do all the build-up phases. And my primary care put me on 20 milligrams of Lexapro. I had never been on meds. I had been afraid of them my whole life. I finally was to the point of suicidality and sinking depression that I was like, I have to try something.
Right.
Well, what I didn't know is that I guess based on kind of like FDA regulations, like 20 milligrams is about like, it's like in America, it's the highest dose you would not want to start somebody on. You would start with 2.5 and then 5 and then 10 and then kind of that way. And even being at 20 is still really high, especially for someone never on meds.
Started you at 20?
Started me at 20. Oh. And then I went from like this insomniac, like suicidal depression, like always like thoughts racing, intrusive thoughts, like to like the polar opposite of like bed rot, 18 hours. I could sleep for 12 hours straight. And then I was like, it was almost like the suicidal stuff was like going in the opposite direction, where it wasn't, I was festering and fearful of it. It was like sliding right into it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they referred me to psych. And I will say that my EMDR therapist and my psych have been one of the pinnacles of changing my life. I'm still not into the reprocessing of EMDR yet. That's been 9 months of this kind of conversation of triggers, and then more stuff has been happening and all these things. But she finally found a combination of medications that actually make me feel like I'm not consumed every day by suicidal thoughts or self-deprecating thoughts. And, you know, I still struggle, but like it's a step in a lot of the right directions. Sure. And especially like grieving your career. Not like I said, all those just massive challenging things. Yeah. I mean, I even had a couple car accidents in the middle of all of this that were not my fault and all these things. So yeah, kind of moving forward into that, in June of 2025 here just recently, they finally had a trial date for this admin separation to basically go in and testify about all the assaults and the drinking and the, you know, infidelity and all of the, you know, basically everything I just told you, but even in more of like a testifying manner, being cross-examined and all this stuff. So I go in, it is awful. I mean, 3 days leading, I'm vomiting. I'm like crying. I can't sleep. It's just absolutely traumatic to even think I'm going to go in a room with this man and be sitting 4 feet away from him. And we kind of get in there. I do my test. I mean, I'm crying. I'm dry heaving. It's like, it's a terrible experience. And the next thing I know, they're cross-examining me about the grandma who came out to be there for my surgery. Like completely surprised in the middle of this whole testimony. I'm clearly suffering through this. And they're like, you were calling her an alcoholic and you were asking her why she was leaving the house so much and you were abusing the oxycodone, weren't you? And I'm going, no, she cut them in half and wouldn't even let me have what I was prescribed and was like complaining about how America gives out Narcan now. I'm like, it's a great public health move. And she's like, no, this is so dangerous and it's going to make people get addicted and whatever. So like, they're like, and all you did was tell her about how you blamed your husband for everything that ever occurred in your house and every bad thing in your life. And, yeah, they put her on the phone, made me leave the room, and she did like a character witness statement for him. For him? For him. And in that moment was when I, like, about one specifically, the one grandma, but the other one, like, why else would she be cutting me off if she's not following suit or whatever's happening? And in that moment, I mean, I went in the separate room and I fell to the counter, like bent over. I couldn't breathe. I was full panic mode. Like, what do you mean she did that? Like, that's not the truth. That's like, she went from corroborating the story and telling the investigators and the police that, yes, he did beat her up and she called me and all these things had happened. And then now fast forward and it's like, I don't even know what the moment would be that. So all I can think of is like, did his lawyer reach out to her by seeing the statement she made, or did he do something to contact them? And something, again, too many assumptions could be made of piecing puzzles together, but like, what did he do to get them to do that?
God, it's just like betrayal after betrayal.
My whole life has been like built that way. Like even back to some of the foster care stories and the sister doing the thing. It's just like, again, you're just like, people are like, you would think was you'd be traumatized more in your life. You're like, eventually the shock factor would wear off. And it's like, no, the more traumatized you get, you would think the next person that steps into your life wouldn't re-traumatize you.
Exactly.
And then they do. And then you're like, shocked again.
Like, how does that even happen? Yeah.
Yep. So then, at the time, he was, how do I word this? He was criminally charged with 7 of the 9 charges that were against him for the infidelity, the domestic violence, just all various different things. There was even more that came out in the investigations that I wasn't truly a part of. Soldiers had testified against him, made statements against him. They came out with an other than honorable discharge and told him that he was criminally losing his entire military career, all of his benefits, everything. And it was a win-win. Like, it was, you went through that testimony, as hard as that was for the last week of your life and the time leading up to that he got what he deserved. Well, he appealed it. There was a verbiage problem between like 2 codes of like the charge. So they wrote something that was very similar, but they worded it wrong in the charging process. So he appealed it, and the commanding general of Fort Carson upgraded it to a general discharge instead of other than honorable. So we're still sitting here waiting for him to, then the government shutdown all occurred and all this stuff. But like, now we're sitting here waiting to see if he still got like a serious misconduct code or not. Cause sometimes they can move it from other than honorable to general, and then the code is still that major slap, you know?
Yeah.
Almost like it's just as bad as an other than honorable, but they think it's getting characterized otherwise. So yeah, so to lead kind of up to present day and where I'm at right now, I thought everything was going to die down from the trial and everything like that. Like, now we're officially divorced. He's remarried that. So he actually ended up marrying the barber, the one with the split tongue and the love blood rituals and all the things that I found like, it didn't seem like that was ever his type or anything like that. And I'm basically, like I said, trying to be like, okay, this has got to be the last thing. Like, we got the victory. Now it can start healing.
Right.
And during some of those processes, because I broke my leg the second time and had that surgery, we had reconvened to change some of the stipulations of the divorce as far as property assets of like, okay, well, I said I can't afford to go $68,000 upside down on a house that's depreciated because of the market. So just have him sign everything over to me, and then we could split property. And because it's my VA loan, he's only co-buyer on the house. Okay. So his name is technically on the mortgage and everything. But in February of 25, he paid his last payment, never paid another dime towards my house. So I've been out lifting, Ubering, like working on the side, helping friends babysit, doing anything I can for extra money to make up his $2,500 deficit that I used to get from him.
Right.
Because the military only pays you like a set amount every time, and promotions only come around every once in a while and so on. So yeah, basically I got to a stage after some of those car accidents that I kind of had mentioned. Like, there was just other like unfortunate kind of like suffering type things where like you get in an accident, you can't lift an Uber anymore because you're out the car and rentals won't allow you to do whatever. So I switched from Safeco to USAA Insurance in September here last couple months. And I was promised like a massive refund of like almost $3,500, which would have paid my entire October mortgage, as I was super behind on all that stuff because of these accidents.
Right.
And I call in because I'm like, it's almost the 1st of October, and they promised me this on the 3rd of September that it would be in 10 to 14 days. So it clicks, and I'm like, hey, I'm calling in. They're like, oh, those funds were cashed on the 17th of September. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, do you know who did it? And they're like, well, we'd have to go through our banking department and we'd have to request that from a manager, and we can get that answer to you in 48 hours. Well, sometimes assumptions work in your favor. So this is October 1st, 2025. I have not texted his phone since October 9th, 2023. 2 years. Not a single message because of, well, why would I?
Right.
But 2, he's got mandatory criminal, like,
yeah,
I'm just not going there. This time I did. And I said, I looked it up in Colorado. Like, if someone steals money from you, what do? You have to make a legal demand. Like, you steal money, I have to say, like, you have this chance to give me my money back before I take you to court type thing. So I did that. I sent it by text and I sent it by email and I sent it to his wife because there's no protection order there. So I'm
Right.
thinking maybe she'll do it and she can just send it back and there's no conflict of him not,
Yeah.
doing whatever. And I sent that, never responds, of course. But I gave him 2 mediums to try to send me the money back. The next thing I know, like 2 hours later after I sent this legal demand, Safeco Insurance Agency calls me and says, hi, yes, we found out who did it. It was your ex-husband. And he just called in and basically for 5 minutes told us that he's getting a lawyer. He's not giving you the money back. Even when we explained that you needed it for the insurance premiums on the house and that you had gave us the power of attorney and the documents that show he's not like entitled to anything on the house anymore. But because his name's still on the mortgage, it's still on the escrow account. So that's how he got the check. And because his name is on the check, he's refusing to give it back to you and said, you're going to have to fight him in court. I've been divorced from this man for 18 months. I've already testified. I've already put things away. I've already done all this stuff. And now
Did it have both your names on it?
it did.
So wouldn't you have to be present too?
So technically at Navy Federal, because I went in,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, post office, how did you get the mail? And it got diverted. And even though it had my address, I've done all the picking and plugging of like trying to
Yeah.
figure out how the heck he got the check and why it wasn't flagged. But the law side says in order to be a one person on a dual check to, sign it and deposit it, you have to have negotiatory ability between 2 legal entities that are able to communicate. And the law just airs on the wave of like, hey, if you guys have a joint account or a joint check, you're going to be able to communicate and just split it or access it however, and there's no crime occurring type thing.
Right.
Well, there's no negotiatory power between us because there's a mandatory criminal protection order and we don't have a joint bank account anymore. So that means he took it and put it in a personal bank account. So essentially he breached the contracts. He improperly converted funds, which deprived me of my my entitled assets and property. Basically, money is property. And then there's a couple other like unlawful charges, and then there's like 3 breach of contracts with the stipulation, the power of attorney. He even signed a quitclaim deed over to the house because again, instead of forcing me to sell it, where he could have legally like tried to sue me to sell the house or whatever. I can't assume $68,000 of debt. So I'd rather struggle every month trying to pay the mortgage and then hope the market will flip.
Right.
And even with all of that, he still won't give me the money back. So we went in December of this year, just a few weeks ago, for a contempt of court case. I filed a motion. I've sued him in small claims court. We have court order mediation on Christmas Eve. There's a small claim suing on January 26th of next year. There's a trial for the contempt case for the breach of contract, all those things, on March 5th. And then it's said in the Colorado law that basically that small claims suing is going to essentially force me back into another mediation with another trial. So I went from thinking everything was done to now having basically 6 more court dates, having to sit in the same room with this man and negotiate something that is not his. He's not entitled to it. He paid nothing on it. The refund is 100% mine. He hasn't paid since February. That policy started in May. And this time, I just had that court date, like I said, December 4th or December 1st. He brought the wife that I've never seen in person into the courtroom, and they sat right to the front left of me. And then they really didn't resolve anything. They just court ordered mediation, and then can't pay the mortgage. Late fees are piling up. Got to pay the sheriff $65 every time he has to be served because of a mandatory criminal protection order. There's the filing fees. There's all the late fees on the mortgage account, which is like $150 every time you pass your grace period. By the time trial happens in March, I'm going to be like $1,100 behind on late fees. And by then, then you get charged taxes and you get charged, and I'm like, he's almost making it worse for himself. But here's what I wanted people to know. He said in the recording that I got a hold of as evidence that I just got it sitting in my bank account. So he doesn't need it. So he saw an opportunity. He took the opportunity. He cashed the check. Knew I made the attempt to get it back by Zelle or by this other bank account number or whatever. Called into insurance, refused to give it back, told them to tell me that he's getting a lawyer and all that stuff. Here we are again. He recorded himself when he followed me, thinking he could divert the law then of I didn't get out of the car and hurt her. Well, now here he is again saying, nope, my name's on the check, even though he's not entitled to it. And he's going to keep it, and there's nothing I can do other than fight him in court.
Do you think that have attorneys said that he'll have some kind of legal repercussions from this because he cashed it and did all those things when there's an order?
So when I showed up to court, usually when they have a lawyer, the lawyer shows up to court. It was just him and the spouse.
Oh, so he didn't have an attorney.
So because I self-filed and I was doing pro se representation. Yeah. So by my knowledge, there's no lawyer entered in the case because you can log in and see it on the county, judicial website. So to my knowledge,
he just breezes through everything. That's the problem too.
Yeah.
He doesn't have serious consequences.
Nope. Of course there's like fear on my part that like, I'm going to continue to suffer. That's the thing. He knows that I'm struggling because he's not paying his half anymore. So I'm hustling every month to do these things. And it's almost like he's dangling it over my head.
Yeah.
The longer that he goes, if he's got... So when we got divorced, he had quite a few thousand. I actually never went after money. Probably the people-pleasing side of me of like, nope, I don't want anything from you. I'm not going to make this harder than it has to be. Wiping my hands.
Yeah.
And at least from the marital side of it, clearly all the other stuff was going on. So he had thousands and thousands of dollars in savings. Now, he's paid lawyers for different things and whatnot, and I don't know what their lifestyle looks like or whatever. But making the statement that he made and then knowing that more stuff is taxing on top, and he has no idea if they're going to make me... They may be like, yeah, you owe her 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know the fees imposed on getting charged in contempt on things. So that tells me it's just sitting in the account because he's got that much to pay. And he doesn't care. It's not that he doesn't have the money or spent the money. It's that he knows if he holds it and holds it and holds it, I suffered the entire time.
Yeah.
That's still kind of where we're in the middle of things. And like I said, I'm still but this is the point. It's like, then the trial came up and then he stole the money. And then it was, like I said, it's just, and I always tell people like, how can you heal when you're still on fire?
Right.
And I'm making steps. Like I said, it was a big step in a very excruciating process to get on meds because of the background and the trauma. And, and then in EMDR, I'm like, I'm 9 months in and we're still building. We're going into like the genogram and the family history and all the stuff of like adoptive versus birth and sorting it out so much that we're not being confused between traumatic memories of like the birth mom did this, adoptive mother did this type thing. Right.
Well, you've got so much stuff. It's going to definitely take time.
Yeah. And because, and then, like I said, in hindsight, you kind of add the like, well, I've been in the military for 12, 13 years. I've deployed to Afghanistan. I've been in austere environments. I've been doing search and rescue during hurricanes, and I've seen stuff. Like I've been strangled. I've been smothered by my mother as a child. Like, again, maybe not in the immediate beginning, you don't notice it, but as all this stuff comes to a head, it's like, wow. It's like, how do you process that much?
I was just gonna say process it all. Yes.
And still, like I said, I'm still going through a medical retirement. I should be out by roughly June of this coming year.
Well, and with the medical retirement, your whole sense of self is changing, like where you got to find your new normal and deal with all the shit.
Where are you moving to? Do you want to stay here? What do you, the house, you're locked in because the market's terrible. And, well, you got to wait to sell that in order to make a move. And what job will you get? And and then that whole thing of that sense of purpose and everything that I had told you in the beginning, why did I join? It's kind of like people make the choice to walk away from it. And that's not to say it's not a hard decision. Sometimes a sacrifice and maybe you're choosing your family over your career or like whatever you got to do. And some people just don't like it and they want to walk away from it or they have a better opportunity. When you're injured in the ways that I've been injured or if you're, PTSD diagnosis, which I actually do have, now that I've been in psych and everything. Once you realize not all veterans and things are created equally, I guess where I'm going with it is like, there's different levels to trauma as far as like you had the rug ripped right out from under your feet because you were hurt in it wasn't your fault and it was combat related or training related. And then,
but you're still paying the consequences,
right?
Like it was,
yeah.
And
it's like, and then everything you worked for 7 years is no longer like your dreams got, you know. And I'm someone that like I meshed well. I loved the Army. I excelled really like highly in the Army with leadership style and like, you know, all the busyness and staying distracted and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, like I said, and that's kind of where I'm at now is like, man, I'm divorced and here we are still in court.
Still
and
dealing with his ass.
But like I said, it's, in terms of the healing, it's like after he stole the money, I was struggling so much with like, why does this stuff keep happening? Not almost like a why me thing, but it's like, what is the point of all this suffering?
Right.
And why do people consistently try to hurt me when I really haven't put negativity out into the world and done anything? I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not without fault in different things, but it's like,
sure.
What have I done to deserve
What the
it?
hell's going on? Right.
So, you know, like I said, it kind of brings up the point of like, why am I losing everything at the same exact time? Of course, you're trying to be optimistic, but you start sinking back in those patterns of depression and suicidal ideations and things like that of like, here I am again, worthless. And here I am again, can't pay the mortgage. And now I'm facing possible foreclosure and it's going to burn my credit and burn my VA benefits. And yeah, just so many things get swirled around. But like the theft of the money was what triggered me to start being more vocal on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Originally, I don't think I knew it was going to do what it did. But of course, when you go through trauma, you always hope that your story will have an impact on the world or it will change people's lives or make people believe that they can get through anything or whatever the case, you know?
Well, you are the definition of resilience.
Thank you.
And being on social media, you're sharing that with so many people. It's going to blow up even more.
Yeah. And
because you're real too. It's like you don't, even when you tell your story, you don't tell it with bullshit.
Yeah.
It's very like matter of fact. And like you even own your own shit through it and how you reacted and how you thought and all the things that you went through. People appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because most people nowadays aren't authentic.
Like
They're just not.
We know that in our own lives, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started sharing it. I mean, I've had a little bit of blowback from some of the things. People are very judgmental on stuff they don't understand.
Ignorance. It's ignorance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, but I have had the messages of, I called the police last night. I took my kids to a safe house. I filed for divorce and never looked back. I mean, this has only been going on for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I've already had you make me feel brave. You make me feel seen. You're giving women a space to come in the comments and let stuff out they can't let out to the real world.
Right.
Like, not all of us are in a position that we can start to become vocal. And I assume a risk in being, he still lives 4 miles from my house. We're still in court battles. He still walks into a courthouse next to me and could follow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not completely sheltered from harm.
Right.
Or threats or whatever, because his probation ends in April. And not even that would stop people half the time. So I just decided that I've lived in silence my whole life. I was not, so many people talk to me and they're like, wait, hold on, I'm confused. Wait, is that your real brother or your adoptive brother? Is that your mom or your dad? But I thought your dad was, but I thought you didn't have parents. I'm like, well, I know who he is, but I've met him twice.
Yeah.
Is that a parental figure?
Right.
Like, my mother was smothering me with a pillow and leaving me with strange men as an infant and a toddler. Like, what?
Right.
Like, that's not very much of a parent.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I've always felt very, like, estranged and misunderstood. And
but now you're a voice, though, for other people.
Yeah. I mean, like, even in some of my closer, the stuff still confuses people.
Sure.
I mean, like
I said, it's a lot.
Well, like, yeah, even if you come and talk about it in this way, now this is great because it's like you can refer back and you can watch these social media segments and you can start to gain your own understanding of things. But yeah, most of my life is just like trying to tell people stuff and like get them to understand me. And sometimes it just doesn't click.
Right.
And you just feel so unseen. And, like I said, yeah, it kind of brings me here. And I am on like segment 21 parts of the series of getting through, just even half of what we talked about.
Right.
And it's just been, like I said, almost 20,000 followers on Instagram, almost 10,000 on TikTok, which
just keep going.
There's so many people in the world that say followers don't matter. And it matters when you have a purpose. It matters when there's a reason behind your voice.
Right.
It not for attention and clout, but it's like some of those men, it's men and women. It's men saying like, oh, your sexual struggles, like men, and that was a taboo for me too, is like, not a ton of women, not a ton. Now, you don't know what everybody experiences, but not a lot of women are the ones that are being rejected by men.
Right.
It's usually, from what society would say, it's the other way around.
Right.
So I've had men or women come out and say, my God, I never knew how to talk about that, because it feels like an inappropriate thing to talk about on the internet. And two, it's embarrassing. It's humiliating to know that, like, basically,
like you're feeling not wanted.
You haven't been touched. You're in a full-blown adult. You're not getting touched for years.
Right.
And like, it's always an excuse or it's always a blame and things like that. So yeah, it's just been people reaching out. Even when I was going to court, someone wasn't able to go with me. And he's followed me out of this courtroom before. Why wouldn't he do it again? And I get all nervous. Like, this is where the PTSD and stuff comes in of like, is he going to follow me in the car? What if they do something in my house? Like, and I recognize what's more of a perpetuated fear versus like what he's actually done in the past.
Right.
But when you realize people have done those kinds of significant things to you, you will also realize that they're capable of anything. And it's almost like the guard goes all the way up of like, you can't let people catch you with your back turned.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what
so
I'm
that
trying
makes
to
you
say.
hyper vigilant about everything all the time.
Like,
yeah.
Make sure the dog's locked up. Make sure the neighbor knows to watch the house in case any strange cars pull up. Like just weird stuff that you become, when you're sleeping at night and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're having nightmares and you're afraid someone's in the house and just stuff like that tears you down and wears you down and makes it, like I said, it's hard to heal when you're on fire still.
Yes.
And I look forward to the day that, like I said, I start writing a book and my Army career will end. And I will, write a book or find a career or like get to move back to Kansas City or go somewhere that I feel like I belong and sell this house that's still associated with him.
Right.
And we hope just
to like close that whole chapter.
Yeah. We hope that I'm getting my money back and I can catch up on mortgage and get back ahead. And, that's the goal. That's the ambition. And, come on podcasts or continue putting my stuff out on social media and, hope,
I really hope that now, today, you don't question what your purpose is anymore. I hope that you see that now, like especially with your social media, with everything that you're putting out there. Girl, you're a force. No, you have to recognize that though, because you truly are. Like a lot of times when we're in it and we're going through it, like you and I both, we've had trauma after trauma after freaking abandonment, all the freaking things. But then when you see that other people, I always say it's the club you don't want to be part of. But when people relate to you and they feel that they're not alone, make that everything. Because
I have to mention one more thing. I have one I served with in the Army. One I am a dear friend. I actually vicariously kind of met her through my ex-husband. And then so you asked me earlier if have people come out. I mean, numerous people started seeing the truth and like blocked him and got rid of him and came and said they're so sorry that they didn't notice. And
oh, good.
And like you said, you're real, you're authentic, you're always been a reliable NCO in the Army. You call people, you help people, you give them money when they need it, you show up for people, you give and love and embrace people and do right by people. Like they're gonna believe, well, I thought he was cool, but there's no way she would make that up kind of thing, Right. So one of my good friends in the California region is a producer. And I know another producer that I served with in the military who was actually my leader when I left for Afghanistan. And he is a screenwriter in South Carolina. They have both consulted me about turning some of my stories into, or more of the most recent things into some form of documentary or screenwrite or a short film or even like a legitimate movie.
Right.
And my story, I'm actually drafting up an email this week, kind of coming out with like the pitch. And the girl in California is pitching to a bigger time producer who focuses in on adversity and women's stories and loves the women's empowerment movements and things like that. So she is pitching it that way. And then he's reached out to me in South Carolina and been like, hey, give me your idea. If you need help writing a book, if you need editors, if you need lawyers, if you need what, like I'll resource in the industry and find you people. And I'm like, that's just the start of just barely putting and then you contacted me and here I am. And it's like, yeah, you start to, it takes a minute because it's still kind of like the, is this real thing? You wait for the ball to drop. You wait for like, am I real? Is this really a space? Are people going to relate as much as I think? And
yes. And you're creating your own community, your community on social media.
But I love being something even with the screenwrite. It's like, I will own authentic rights to my story. I don't want people like taking my story and flipping it some kind of way they want to. Like, yeah, I mean, even I looked into your podcast when you reached out, you know, because you can get some of those that like reach out and you're like, I don't really believe in your message. But like I was hooked right away and I was like, man, she reminds me of myself in a way.
It was crazy hearing some of your story where I'm like,
well, yeah, but even personality, I was like, even the way you transfer information or you display your character and like, like I said, the authentic nature and stuff. Like you said, people pick up on that. A lot of people read people, you know, and we're not always correct, clearly. But when you're in a safe environment, you're a lot better at it, you know? Yeah. You're not questioning yourself as much.
Right.
So yeah, that's where, you know, still got a few more months for medical retirement. I actually did just kind of have a small re-injury to the leg, but I'm back in physical therapy again. I'm in mental health twice a week. I'm in psych twice a month. I'm, you know, traveling to come do podcasts and go to a football game tomorrow and, you know, spend Christmas with my besties because, you know, obviously I don't have anywhere to go. And, you know, they pull me in and include me. And
it's awesome.
It's it can be hard still to be like, am I really accepted? They help me work through that and they never judge me. And so, I think
you're definitely being accepted. You just have to believe it and see it in yourself.
Yeah. And I'm working
That's
on
going to take time.
Yeah. And working on the self-esteem. And I haven't dated in 2 years since like the divorce and being very calculated. And like, it's not that someone who would care about me would like necessarily turned off to trauma, but it's like, you also don't want to get into it in the middle, like all these court battles and all these things, you know, you kind of want to like feel like you can wrap up some of that stuff and step into it with a good foot forward and not like you said, not when you're on fire.
Right.
So yeah.
And you need this me time.
Yeah.
Like you need this time for yourself.
Yep.
Anyway.
It's
so
great.
Be selfish with your time.
Yeah. It's been, like I said, it's coming slow and in waves and then sometimes there's 15 steps backwards and so forth. But I'm trying to believe that something's waiting on the other side of the army that's going to blow my mind. Some man is waiting out there with future children that's going to someday make it all like not go away, but like, man, the picture makes more sense now. Or, you know, even
makes it all worth it. Everything.
I write a book and it's like, oh man, this social media thing was like, it was a scary thing to do, but sheesh, look how it's paid off type of thing.
Right.
So yeah.
And you're helping.
Yeah.
That's such the key to all that.
Yeah. So
just believe in yourself a little more.
Yeah, trying.
Girl,
Thanks for believing
I'll be
in
50.
me.
I'll be 50 next year and I'm still learning.
Well, I'll be 32 in 3 weeks. So I've got some time, I think.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes. Of course you do.
Yeah. So,
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me here. And it was a great 16-hour journey from Colorado Springs.
Oh, you guys are troopers.
Yes. But it was
You're doing big things, girl.
Yes. Thank you.